Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. Yes, I am here talking to Chris from Ready to Love season 5. It's been explosive this season. Sir,
Yes.
how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing fabulous, man. I've been anticipating this. I don't even know what's going to happen, but I'm here for it, man. You're the best in the business. So here we go.
I appreciate you, Captain. I appreciate it. I tell you what's not going to happen. Maury ain't going to be here. That's for sure. So we're going to keep it between ourselves, okay? So don't get any bright ideas, okay? It's me and
Nah,
you. I
man,
learned my
nah.
lesson last season, so don't worry. But no, it's good to have you here, Captain. You look good, look smooth. You know what
Thank
I'm
you.
saying? Look like, you're looking dangerous, bro. You know what I mean? You
Thank
got
you,
to be
man.
careful out here. You're going to
Thank
steal my
you.
subscribers.
I know they call me Bruce Wayne, so I guess it's maybe my attire and the way I live my life.
Cheers.
So.
At this point, I'm Robin because I'm now your sidekick, bro.
No, we'll
Nah.
just alternate. I'll be
Nah,
Bruce
that's not how it
Wayne.
works, bro.
You be
No.
Batman. I'll be Bruce Wayne. You're
Nah,
Batman.
that's not how it works, man. Once you Bruce Wayne, you know who I am, baby. Okay. So I'm gonna play my position. But no, it's good to have you on here, Captain.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
we've watched you on the season. It's
Mm-hmm.
been been quite an interesting season. It's been I'll be honest with you, your season, we ain't got the best of things to say about your season, but
Yeah,
everyone's got interesting stories, so that's
yeah,
that's what's made the season
that's true.
really interesting to watch. So before we get into any festivities, any kind of real deep conversations, we got to do what we call our human verification, which means you just got to make sure that you're human. In this day and age, you could be AI. You know what I mean?
All right,
Mm.
let's
You know what I
go.
mean? All right, cool. First question, Chris. First question. Capital of Nigeria.
Wait. So yeah, first question. Talk about Nigeria.
That's as a capital of Nigeria. What is the capital of Nigeria?
Lagos.
I have to make sure. Is it Lagos? Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really Lagos?
Go look, Google it.
When did it change?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know when it changed. Actually, if it's changed now, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't know, but I know at one point it might still be Lagos right now. Maybe I should text my sister, phone a friend or something on WhatsApp.
I can't remember. I think the last one I checked, I thought it was Abuja last one I checked. That's why. So
Abuja was there
if
as
it's
well.
changed,
One before the other. Yes.
okay, fair
So
enough.
Abuja is a big one. Or maybe I'm talking about when I go and party or something.
Well, listen, when I go to Ghana, I only go to Accra. Where's Kumasi? Second question. I'm gonna ask you. Favorite food.
Favorite food would be seafood. It'll be some type of shrimp pasta or something like that. Outside of fufu or jollof rice, American it will be seafood. African jollof rice with fufu.
Wait, I didn't know Nigerians even have food like that. You know?
Oh yeah, the best. Ogusi soup,
See?
the best.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Yes.
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right on that one. Still, okay. Final question. If you're on a plane, the plane has to make an emergency landing, has to land somewhere, anywhere in the world. Where do you want that plane to land?
Anywhere in the world, for some reason, I've been thinking about Ghana lately. Even though I'm
Mm.
Nigerian, I know I have a lot of Ghanaian people that support me, so I would like to actually land there and experience that culture as well.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. I like that. I like that. Listen, we're going Ghana in December, so chat me, bro. We
Hey,
can.
let me know. I'll book my flight,
Got you.
man.
I got you, bro. Don't worry about it. We gonna go.
All right.
But listen, you've passed the human verification. We believe you're a human being, so
Thank you.
we gonna chop it up and get some conversation going. So the opening question we have here is Chris. Who is Chris, and what is Chris's story?
Who is Chris? So Chris, I was born here in the States, and it's ironically, I was born July 3rd. My father died July 2nd, so the day before I was born. So I ended up going to Nigeria and living there till I was about 7. So coming to the U.S. played sports, and my first profession was an engineer. In our culture, they want you to be engineer, medical doctor, lawyer, education. So I did that for 7 years. I was an engineer, and then I got into investment. So I would say, personally, for me, I would say Chris is probably a best friend that someone never had. I think that's my skill set is just creating friendship and just being that person for people next to me. So that's my biggest takeaway of who I am, and I am a father of a beautiful girl. Her birthday's tomorrow, so I'm excited about that too. So yeah.
Love that, man. And my condolences for you losing your father.
Thank you.
I guess obviously I want to start there actually because I had that in my head that what, as men, father figures are so important, and I also
Mm-hmm.
watched your interview on Dear Future Wifey. So obviously, like you said, you spoke that your father had passed just before you were born,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so you didn't necessarily have the time to be able to develop a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But for you then growing up, what was that like for Chris? What was that like in your eyes?
So growing up in the village, my grandfather was the king. So I was his handbag pretty much. Wherever he went, I went. And it really does take a village to raise a child. So I don't feel like I've lost anything. I think the death of my mother was like more devastating than him because
Mm,
I didn't know him in a sense.
okay.
My best friend actually in high school, his father pretty much is my godfather. So he's taught me what it looks like to be a man, to be a father, be a husband. So I feel that if you have people in your life, male figures, I think that right there is the key. And yes, I have my mother. I have two older brothers, but I had people around me that played that role in my life, so I know what it looks like, to be a man. Just by watching them. Yeah.
I love that. I'll come back here. I want to comment to a bit more positive area, which is that I can see you're a very accomplished person.
Thank you.
You wear the finest threads as well. So, but before you get to that stage where you're at the finest threads, what would you say was one of your dreams as a young man?
Ooh, one of my dreams. I think one of the biggest dreams I wanted to do was to be able to buy my mother a house, a really big house. And ironically, she never got to live to see my success now. And it's like, Lord, you give
Mm,
me the ability to do that, and she's not here. So then
mm,
it shifted. The next person I love is my other siblings and my friends. So now it's like my dream is to make sure all of us are successful in all measures so we can actually enjoy each other. So and that's kind of like how I love so hard with the ladies on the show because they're part of my family. So it's like that's just what it is. You with me, it's to the end. There's no turning back
mm,
on that. So yeah.
mm. I was expecting my check through the post. Don't worry, we're now family, so I'll be expecting my check. So obviously, like you said, obviously for you, you've seen some things. You grew up your dreams.
Hmm.
Um, for you, then obviously going into school. Then obviously your mom at the time was alive
Yes, was a
at the
lot.
time.
Yes.
So you going into school, you had your siblings. You have your sister, and then do you have
Yeah.
an older?
Uh-huh. I
Is it just a
have two
sister?
sisters and two brothers. I'm the youngest.
Wow.
Hmm.
What is that like growing up as a young? I'm a firstborn, so I don't know your pain,
Oh
bro. So
man,
what's it like
I
growing up as
would
the youngest?
say I had a lot of love. I would say my siblings didn't get the same amount of love that I received from everybody. They were extremely overprotective. I remember in a project, this guy shot me with a BB gun on my side, and my next sister Olivia went and got a machete from the kitchen and chased him all around the complex, the projects, and so no one ever messed with me after that. And and it's so funny. So coming over here, my English was horrible. So I was always
Mm.
called name like they say Jamaican Chris, and I would say I am not Jamaican, I am Nigerian. so so I had the thick accent and my English was horrible.
Mm.
So that was one of the things that I do remember, and is that the ugly phase. And I'm probably still there now. I don't know, but I remember how kids will be. And the cool part about it, I really didn't understand when they was like talking trash because it was foreign to me. I'm just smiling.
Mm.
They like nappy head Jamaican Chris, and I'm smiling
Yeah, coming
because
to
I
American
didn't know
women.
all the cut downs. I didn't know that was a cut down, and I just
Mm.
smiled, and that was just pretty much it.
Wait, so how old were you when you came to
I
America
was
then?
like 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Whenever fifth, sixth grade, something around there. When I came back, yeah. So it was real
Mm.
interesting growing up, and I appreciate that. I appreciate those moments, and those are the moments that keep me humble because I come from humble beginnings. So it's like I got to see all the aspects of that, and then actually my life in Nigeria was totally different from here. So the things that transpired in Nigeria, I don't think a lot of people would be able to handle that coming from here in the U.S. It's just a different lifestyle, when it
Mm.
comes to that. So yeah.
In what sense for you that you say that it's a different lifestyle and that people may not be able
So,
to
so like I
access
said,
those
my
things?
father wasn't there. My grandfather was the king of the village, so he was judge, jury, and executioner. So, as being his grandson, I was there when he had to make those tough decisions. So, there's a lot of things that men here don't experience. So, I experienced that as a
Mm,
child. So, I want to say that's probably what made me so fearless and so confident because I remember him saying, "Do not be afraid," you know. And so, as a ruler, as a king, you have to be able to have thick skin when it comes to that. You know, I get my emotional side from my mother, but I get
mm,
my savage roots from him, and I would say my lineage when it comes to that. So it's a balance. It's a duality when
mm.
it comes to that, though. You know, and I like to say, I thank God my mother was so loving on that end because if I'd have went the other way, you know, it'd be a different story. So it's a balance where I'm lucky in a sense. I know it sounds horrible, but I'm lucky to see both extremes.
Both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people complain about stuff, that's why I'm always smiling. I know in the show I pretty much smiled the whole everything because everything was just so lighthearted because I've seen when things get serious and a lot of people have never seen that. You know, so you know, that's why I just live life the way I live it, you know, because of that. So yeah.
I love that. I mean, obviously, for you, I think, and I really wanted to touch on this because obviously, coming from a lineage of royalty,
Yes.
um, the impact of coming from that, looking back at it now from your perspective, you're obviously much mature now, and you can see things in a
Mm-hmm.
different light. Looking back at it into your childhood in terms of how you grew up in terms of royalty, what would you say is an impact I know you spoke a little bit about the savageness, but what other aspects would you say influenced you to how you are now,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing being part of a royal bloodline? Because it's not easy to be in that space.
No, it's
In that
not,
place.
and it's kind of like not necessarily you have a chip, but I have a sense of confidence that's it's hard to match, um, because I know where I come from. You know,
Mm,
whenever something goes on in my school, in my daughter's school, I'll go there and in front of everybody I say, "You are not like these other kids. You come from royal blood, so you need to start acting like it." You know, and
mm,
so it's a sense of pride, I would say,
I love that.
and it's an obligation in a sense because I'm obligated to my friends and my family. You know, I have
Mm,
to make sure that they're good. I know there's a lot of weight to put on myself, but it doesn't feel heavy. It feels like something that's second nature, you know, and it's like with what I do, I'm the best in my company, and that's just what it's going to be until I choose otherwise. Other people can be the best, but they first have to believe that. You know, when I say I'm the
mm,
best, it doesn't make me better than anyone else. That's just how what I put forth in me. You know, so I think being from that royal bloodline, it's a level of excellence that you have to exude, and that's one of the reasons why it was so difficult at first with the whole blow up. But we'll get to that. Is I was like, man,
mm.
I can't believe that happened. You know, because that's the first thing I thought about my last name. You know, but in that I have to be like, it's okay, it doesn't matter. You know, to a
Race.
certain degree. To it, if it's unhealthy, it doesn't matter. But if it's something
Mm,
I can turn into something that's healthy, hence being here with you, then it was a great thing. You know, I try to always try to look
I
at
love
that
that.
aspect of it. You know,
And your last name, Ibizim, is it Ibizim?
e-business. Yes.
Ibizim. Does it mean anything? The
I,
word
I
Ibizim.
have no idea. My siblings might know. My middle name means something. We do know all of our. You know, every African
Yeah,
has
it's
their
usually have a
American
name.
name,
Yeah.
then they have their middle name, and their middle name is always going to mean something spiritual,
Mm,
religious, as well. You know, my middle name is Okechukwu. That means glory be to
mm.
God. You know, so
Okay.
I'm proud of that as well too. You know.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so I mean, and I love that because I think from also coming from African background myself, Ghanaian,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Ghana,
nice
yeah.
to hear. It's nice to hear or get to see even a fellow brother, especially coming from a royal bloodline. I say that
Mm-hmm.
this conversation might take a turn for worse, but I think because as Africans having this aspect where you're attached to the motherland, but not only that, you're specifically for you as well, you're
Yeah.
attached to, like you said, royalty. And I think that's such a powerful
Mm-hmm.
thing because we always we rave about this film, quote unquote Wakanda, right? And the
Yes.
reason why we
Yes.
rave about it is because the power that he holds and the
Yes.
ability to be able to stand tall. And so when you're
Yes.
making your points about where you come from and understanding where you've come from and how that has instilled that confidence in you, that's a
Yes.
powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you came over to the US, and then, like you said, you didn't really understand the language barrier. How did you begin to overcome some of those shortfalls then, in terms of, like you said, you didn't know they were teasing you, so it's not going to probably hit you that hard. But once you come into a place of understanding and you're getting older, how did you manage to kind of navigate that field then, in terms of you being different and coming from a different culture and background?
It was one pivotal moment that I remember, and I'm taking you guys to a little story right now. So it was one kid that was probably twice my size was picking on me, and I remember this vividly. I was playing my little sandbox, right, and so the kid that came and kicked over my rocks, and so I got filled with rage to the point where I ran towards the kid, and it was a very aggressive confrontation where the teacher had to pull me off, and this little kid was bloody, and the teacher was crying. They're like, "Well, Chris, they just don't understand you." And so at that moment, like, it made me realize that I'm different. You know, people are people naturally would try to pick on someone that they might feel is weaker until they
Yes.
get dominated, in a sense where, like, I made the wrong mistake. So that's one of those things where you got to be mindful, because I always think about love and anger are the most powerful thing, but love is greater. But people react more to anger than love. You see what I'm saying? A lot of time, because that's an easier emotion. It takes a lot to love someone, but it's the greatest emotion in my mind. So I always think about the things that happened in kid as a child and see where can I pull the good from that, and I'm grateful that I grew up in the projects and did the whole Section 8 thing, not knowing my whole, like, where I actually come from. And later on, I started learning more about my lineage and my family and the village and all those things. So I would say little bitty things like that is what shaped me. So when I saw in Oak Cliff and violence and all the other stuff, if it was second nature to me, so where someone else was nervous about what we just saw happen to me, I'll just tell them, hey, it's okay. Like, it is what it is. So I think those things hardened me in a sense, and it shaped me to where I am now, and understand that you have to overpower a lot of the hate and all that other stuff with more love and more compassion too, and then also a lot more forgiveness when it comes to that. So not to get too deep, but that's just where
No, no, no. Hey,
I'm
we
wired.
We do deep around here, you know what I mean? And I'm picking up. Maybe I'm picking up something. Maybe I'm not picking up something. I wanted to maybe tap into that a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit by saying, obviously, you saw some things, and you don't have to say exactly what you saw, because I'm sure some things are for family. But you know, you said you saw some things, and that's what's made it easier, I guess, when coming over here and see some violence as well. Um, I mean, what did you see? Because I'm trying to understand. I'm sure people are trying to.
Well,
What did you see
Well,
that was?
you like how they say, it's kind of like how here it might be street justice, there you might think jungle justice or whatever, but you can imagine,
Yeah,
because it's like in Africa, if you steal, you getting your right hand cut off,
hand chopped off.
within that
Yep,
time. So if I'm seeing
yep,
that happen, it's gonna deter everybody not to steal. When
yeah.
you see your neighbor and he got to use his left hand, it's just like, with all those things, is really an eye for an eye in those areas, because here, and I understood this, and I had to really really dive into this. Cowards act hard in safe environments. So the way people will respond, if you know someone's gonna protect you and you're not that type of person, they're gonna act a little bit harder. That's why it's
Yeah.
like you see all these kids with guns and stuff like that, because now they're big and bad. In the 90s and 80s, people might have a little fight and it's over, but it wasn't it wasn't a coward mentality back then. So now you have to let things slide. You don't, because you don't know. It's just different. So again, in Africa, seeing a lot of those things, being involved in a lot of those things, it made me understand that here, it's a facade. I think people might think that, okay, I'm this, the Twitter fingers, internet, all the stuff that people do, the threats and all the other stuff like that. Like, when people do that, you have to just let it go, because they know not what they're doing, and you have to protect. Then you start thinking about the people around you. How is your actions gonna affect the people that you love? You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of power in reframing when it comes to that. So therefore, I look at people as being naive in those areas, or trying to impress or do something for people that don't really matter or don't really care about you. So going into Africa, reliving some of those things, I'm okay with it. I don't have to really just go in depth, but you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So obviously, then you being the youngest and stuff, what was your relationship like with your elder siblings then? Because that's always an intriguing place to be. What was the relationship like?
Yeah, man, they just love me. I feel bad because I don't think they got the love that I got. Me being my father's last son, and my oldest brother would say, I'm envious of this, not in a bad way, because I got to get the more of an opportunity. I came to America and and born here where he wasn't. He was born there and then come here. So I would say I got a better opportunity starting off, in a sense, right? So I think I was always their chosen one, Neo. I was always the one in my family to bring back order, to that, because when my father passed, it was a big shift in the village. So now
Mm.
going back there, it's like you reclaiming everything and you're getting things in order. And I think that's what it just needed to be done. I never thought, oh, I want to go to Africa, but now I feel I'm obligated to rebuild the things that we have there, along with what I'm building here in the U.S. So
Mm.
yeah, I would say I got
Was
treated very well.
Okay, sorry, I almost interrupted there. Apologies. Was okay, and I guess maybe this is where you were kind of tying it. This can probably tie back into what you were saying earlier on, because I was going to say, well, obviously being in the US now and
Mm-hmm.
growing up in the US predominantly, that's a lot of responsibility on a young man's shoulders
Mm-hmm.
to have a village, a people, a family, dependent on him, even if it's not necessarily financially, but almost
Yeah.
holding him up to be Simba, ready for to be the lion pride leader. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure. And I know you say obviously now, it's not pressure for you now. Now it's responsibility, which I also definitely understand. But
Yeah.
your younger self who hasn't formulated into that particular leader as of yet, hasn't formulated into the maturation point as of yet. How did you how does your mind kind of like deal with the fact that there's going to be a lot of pressure now on you to succeed, to achieve, to reach greater heights, to pull people along
Yeah.
who you would normally actually end up being behind because you're the youngest.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's like this. The only way you can create a diamond is through intense heat and pressure. So
Mm,
that's what I look at. I think about, like, even with my fraternity, I'm a new shout out to the brothers of KSI. I was the rock of my line. So rock is the guy that's gonna be the toughest guy. Like once I realized this, I said, yeah, that's gonna be me. It's just no way around it. So I just don't think of second place or think of not succeeding. My mind doesn't work like that. So what somebody might think of as pressure, I think of it as a Monday. So it
mm,
doesn't really calculate in my mind that, oh, this is going to be difficult, because you always got to look at it. Oh man, we're created equal, but we're not equal, and it's only a mental
mm,
aspect that separates us. It's not looks, it's not smarts, it's not height, it's not weight. It's the mindset, right? So if something, I don't look at adversity as something hard. I look at it as an opportunity. And I think that's what made me excel in my career in so many aspects, that I'm looking at the end goal and reverse engineering the process to get there. You see what I'm saying? So it's like in my mind, I'm already there. So now I'm just going through
mm.
the steps of it. Yeah.
Love that. I love that. Okay, so then moving through, obviously you're getting older, you're getting into
Hmm.
your teens and stuff. You're coming through the hood, like you said. What was like high school and high school time for you? Like, what was that like for you? Middle school, high school. What was that like for Chris
Man,
then?
I think I was probably the coolest version of my whole crew. I think that's what it was,
Mm,
because I also said, okay, I'm not doing anything till I get married. I want to make my mom proud. Um, and I was so into sports, and I think I probably went to the best high school in Texas, in my opinion, in Duncanville. And there was a lot of people that actually went to Duncanville, even on the cast was went there
mm,
for a little bit. I think Christopher went there, Janelle went there, Lee went there, I went there myself. It was like a mini university. So I would say I was popular because I was good in sports. Back home we played football. Well, they
mm.
call it soccer here. So we played
Soccer here,
football.
yeah, I know,
So
yeah.
so that
It's
made me
football.
exactly that made me excel in other sports, because
Mm.
my coordination was really, really
Nation.
good. versus a lot of other people, and then I was fast. So being good in sports gives you a lot of popularity, and I was always a joyful kid, but I didn't have any adversity. I didn't really have anyone picking on me at that point, because I was a scrapper. In Africa we fight for fun. Here people fight for survival in a sense. Well, we actually do a little bit of both. So I didn't ever get really tested like that, but everyone was so nice and we was friends, and so I had a really, really good high school and middle school experience. Yeah, I really did.
Let me tap into that. This so that people can understand where you're coming from, so they can understand your perspective. In Africa, we scrap for fun. Here, we scrap for survival, partly fun too. What did you mean by that, so that people understand
So
where
when
you're
I
coming
say in Africa, okay, it's like this. Okay, if we want to just break it down, here in America, there's rules of engagement. In a lot of other countries, there's no rules. So it doesn't really measure up to. It's all about the heart when it comes to that. And so I know some of the kids in school see me display that, because kids get into fights, and you always think about, okay, well, this guy's way bigger, but no, they're not. I'm not gonna get tired. So it was to a point where it was a bully that he just begged me to stop fighting him, but I wasn't done yet, So a lot of kids when they see that, then they're like, oh, I mean, I think it's jokingly now, I guess, but I just felt at that time that's just what I knew. So it's not about who is it's all about endurance in everything in life, right? And so in that primitive aspect, that's another thing too when it comes to endurance. So it's I gained a lot of respect not knowing that's what kids respected at that time. So I never got bullied at all. And then we were friends, it wasn't a big deal, so I would say a couple with those things, being nice, being good in sports, being a scrapper or whatever, that just made my high school a breeze. Wasn't too big of a ladies' man until I got into college. I think I was still ugly duckling phase around that time or whatever. But it didn't matter to me. I was just doing me.
So okay, so it's interesting because I think everyone has interesting things when they grow up in certain different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like had you been in Africa right now, your scrapping would be seen as uh, prestige.
Yes.
Scrap to fight. It's a sport. It's a sport in terms of
Yes.
to see who's going to be the best, but there's honor in that as well, right?
Yes.
You come here and you get expelled. So
Yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean?
So we got to cut that out. Yeah.
You got to cut that out. So I'm wondering though, for you though, um, what was the fuel for fighting though? Because it sounds like you had a lot of fights, Chris. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, my
I
brother
had one
had
or
more
two.
fights than me, and so my brother probably was a better fighter. My brother Brian, but it was more like hand to hand combat. It's a competition, it's like the best, and it's like this and that, and I think that's what was intriguing about it because it's only one winner, unless you guys just agree to. So it was never a thing of anger. Like whenever I had to fight with people, it really wasn't a thing of anger because you'll get someone like, all right, well, I don't want to. Never was a talker. I'm like, hey, do you want to fight? If not, then let's just stop talking. But that's at a younger age. Now I don't even bring that up. But as a child, that was my answer because I was never an arguer. I never was someone that's just gonna keep talking because you don't get anything on that unless we're debating, discussing in a kind way. But if it's in a threatening conversation, then it's only one outcome, and so either we stop or we engage in that, and then just be done with it. Keep it moving. It's never. I didn't never hold any animosity towards anybody. When it came to that.
That's
Yeah.
That's it. All right. So moving through, obviously high school, you're into sports, you're killing it. You're now becoming more and more popular as it
Yeah.
goes on. And then you leave high school. I'm guessing you went into higher. For us, the UK, we say you went into higher education in a sense,
Yes.
college or university. What college did you go to?
I went to Navarro Junior College first, and I went to Southern Arkansas University. So that's where I went to play ball there. Whoever gave me the most money for scholarship, that's where I went.
I hear that.
And that was pretty much it. So I went to school in Arkansas. Yeah.
What was that like then, Arkansas?
Man, I wanted to be somewhere outside of Texas, and I would say that's when I got my my glow up. or whatnot, you know, because, you know, my mother, like, I wasn't able to really just go on dates. I would have to go to my best friend's house and talk on the phone with a girl, you know, and be like, hey, Chris, this girl likes you. I said, well, she can't call me. My mom's going to get on the phone because my mom will get on the phone. You should be sleeping. Who is this calling my son at this hour? Oh, yeah, go to sleep now. So when I got to, exactly. So when I got to college and I had freedom, I'm like, wait a minute. So I can actually go to sleep when I want to and stuff like that. So getting into the parties, fraternity, of course, still playing ball. Then I realized women found me really attractive. And so I was like, okay, all right, well, this is where we're at now, you know? And so I had a really, really good college experience and got a lot done in that short period of time, you know? So I'm grateful for that, you know? So college was nice. Yeah, it definitely was.
So when you play ball, were you playing ball? When you say ball, you mean
football? American,
ball.
North American football.
American
Yeah.
football. Okay, so American football. Okay, so you're playing that. What position do you play?
I played cornerback, so I was a defensive back and like special team, like kick return, punt return, things like that.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
And one for me. I can't lie to you. Okay. So obviously heavily involved in that sports as well. And that again, you know, you went to Arkansas as well. And the reason why I'm asking as well, because, you know, I think our schooling years are quite definitive in terms of how we grew up and stuff. So you said obviously you had a bit of a glow up. You had a bit more of a glow up during that time. What was it like having that bit of a glow up? Because, you know, in fact, before that point, when you compare it to before the point to the point where you feel like you growed up, what were the differences that you noticed?
Man, because I was always a very transparent individual, you know, especially with dating girls. Like at that time, I felt like I had to pick a litter, you know, in college, you know, and so it was like I would tell, you know, it was college was fun. It really was, you know, because women, that's when I realized women can be very, very aggressive, you know. So if you're the new guy, it's like they want to have that new guy that none of the other girls had an opportunity to talk to, grab them up first. So I got a lot of attention in college, and because I was good in sports and I was in a fraternity as well, you know, so that was a brand new experience. So now it's like when I get out of college, and I was always humble throughout. You know, it wasn't like, because I remember those formative years, you know, before I got to college. So I never had the big head. I've always been confident, and I never was conceited at all, you know, because most of the women sometimes I dated younger, people might think, oh, why does he date her? To them, they might not have been attractive, but to me, they were. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I truly believe that. And so when I was in college and I saw a lot of women liking me, then I had to take a pause and like, okay, let me choose the right one, because now they're not liking me for me. They're liking me for how I look and the rumors of what someone might have said about me, you know, and then they want that experience or want to for themselves. So those are the things that I had to like understand to decipher who's your friend, or who, and even with guys, who's your buddy, because they feel they can get more chicks by hanging out with you. You see what I'm saying? So that's what college was for me. But it was a great experience.
Chris,
you
just said there was rumors about you.
Oh man, come on, we're not gonna talk about that.
No, you. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you said the ladies thought there was rumors about you. I'm not saying LGBTQ. I'm not saying that at all.
No, I wasn't even saying that either. I was no.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, was you trying to? Because it sounded like you were trying to allude towards.
The rumors was like, you gonna have a good time, especially with the noobs. And then I was the president of the noobs.
I just had to make sure, because
of my fraternity. So yeah,
you trying to slip it in there. It was like you trying to slip it in there real sly.
Oh, man.
You trying to slip it in there real sly.
See, that's what happened in free flowing conversation. You got to go back and backtrack. Like, what did I just say? But yeah, the rumors were like the campus was a great time. Yeah, I would say that. You know, so yeah, it was no complaints. You know, if you dated a noob at our college, pretty much.
Okay, so for you now, was that like the first kind of real interactions with women then in college? Was that more of the first kind of interactions you had with women, American women, if you want to say that as well? Was that kind of like your first real?
Yeah, it really was, because I was a late bloomer. You know,
okay.
You know, I came back and found out some of my friends were doing stuff that I wasn't doing yet. I'm like, really? Y'all just now telling me this? You know, So yeah, I was much a late bloomer. Heck, I was one of the guys that wanted to wait till marriage before I lost my virginity. It didn't happen, of course. But yeah, college is when it opened up the doors for me when it came to dating women, and I learned a lot within that process. You know,
What did you learn, Chris? What did
man,
you learn
I
dating?
learned that you don't need to date multiple at one time, because even if you tell them you dating multiple at one time, they're gonna get mad. So that
Clearly, you ain't learned your lesson because you're not ready to love.
in college, I was not ready to love in college at all,
Why was you not ready to love?
because the way I communicated was totally different in college. Like I was, and the things I did, so it's like if you, I remember, not to get too thick in the woods, but I remember talking to
You can get sick,
someone, and
of
then
course.
and then there was someone else that wanted to talk to me. I said, oh, okay, well, I could talk to you too. So I went to the other girl and was like, hey, I'm also talking to this person here. And she's like, no, Chris, you can't do that. I'm like, why not? I mean, I'm telling you what I'm doing, and so I had that whole dynamic of it where it's like, because the college is small, right? So I'm not gonna go and do something behind someone's back, because they're gonna find out. So let me just tell them right now about what I wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, well, we don't need to be in a relationship, because I do want to talk to her, And so that's when I was like, all right, I'm only gonna be in a relationship if I just want to talk to that person within that time in college. Because I'm talking to all my friends, they're like, man, college, you're supposed to do this and do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm getting guidance by other people that's in college having a good time. But my thing was, if I'm transparent, how can you be mad at me? You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
And so if it was a girl that I really wanted to talk to, but she wouldn't let me talk to anyone else, then I would talk to just her. Because I remember my high school football coach said, the way you treat your girlfriend is the way you're gonna treat your wife.
Mm.
And that stuck in my mind. So it's like, if you're going to play the field, you want to do all this other stuff, you shouldn't be in a relationship. You shouldn't be in a relationship at all. And then, if you choose to be in a relationship, then you need to be in a committed relationship. Unless y'all have that understanding. That's just how I look at it. It just make life a whole lot easier, where you don't have to worry about what's going on, or something like that. So that was my college in a nutshell.
Mm. So were you in any committed relationships during college?
Yes, I was. I was actually
Mm.
in one committed relationship. Well, no, actually two. One committed relationship, and another one was kind of short, because she ended up going to a different college. And so I was like,
Okay.
yeah, I don't want to do long distance relationship or whatever. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, okay. So committed relationships in college, is a bit difficult because obviously
Oh
a lot of
yeah,
stuff,
very difficult. Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I was in
So
one probably about a year in college, like one
oh, a
full
year.
year. Yeah, one
Okay.
college that almost well, going into the summer and then coming back into the fall. But yeah, that was that. Yeah, sweetheart. She's
Mm,
married now. She's happily married now. I'm really proud of her. So
by grace.
yeah. Hmm.
We love that. So okay, so like you said, your communicational style may not have been the best. Is it that you were just too honest? Is that the only communicational errors that you had at the
Yeah,
time?
I would say with that, within the relationship and dating, yeah, extremely. Yeah.
Extremely honest.
Yeah, the reason being because I will forget. So if you I will forget something I said. So if I don't keep it the consistent, it takes a lot of energy to say something and that's not true, and then you have to remember what you said. It's a domino
Of
effect.
course.
So you have to, if you can be transparent from the beginning, you don't have to go back and rethink. Even in negotiating with what I do, some people be like, "Well, Chris would say," like, "Nah, Chris would not say that." Because I have a pattern. Everybody develops a pattern.
Of
And
course.
when
Yeah.
someone deviates, and you're like, nah, that's not what she would do, that's not what he would do, that's not what this person would do. So yeah.
Okay. I hear that.
Definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
so obviously, when you got into that committed relationship, I know you said obviously, that you had family around you, other men around you, and stuff. But did were you taught some of those? Were you taught? And again, it's not a slight to anybody. It's just more of a case
Yeah.
of just trying to understand where you're coming from.
Hmm.
Were you kind of taught principles about how to go about dating then and how to deal with the opposite sex, or was it
Hmm.
more in terms of stewardship, in terms of leadership, and us being as a man, and us being able to to hold our own and make sure we have responsibility and we look after people. But was
Mm.
there more? Was there instruction? Was there conversation around relationships and women and how we deal with them, etc., etc., for your perspective as a youngster?
I would say no. It really wasn't. It wasn't that until I got later on in my years. It's more so obligation and duty was more important. When it
Mm,
comes to that, I have to make sure I'm a provider, make sure I'm a protector. The dating and the relationship aspect wasn't there. As far as like with being sensitive to their needs in a sense. It's just like, okay, I know I got to do this. So early on, that's where I was focused with is like, okay, I have to do this. So if I'm taking care of this, then she's gonna be good and provide, protect. But it's now I realize it's so much more than that.
mm,
So early on, I wouldn't say I would have been the best person to date. Probably would have thought that didn't have as much emotion as I have now.
I
I would
understand.
say it was more so just passionate about what I was passionate about.
Mm.
But as far as like being real dry in a relationship, I would say I was more dry in a relationship. I was cutting dry with that. So yeah, that's what
And
I
I
would
do
say.
understand that. I do understand. I
Mm-hmm.
think coming from again from African background to Ghanaian one
Yeah.
specifically, we get taught a lot about responsibility, obligation,
Mm-hmm.
duty, which actually is a form of love.
Yeah, that's true.
It's actually a form of love. The Greeks, I can't remember the name is for the Greeks, they pronounce it, but there's obligation and duty. So there is that aspect of love that we get
Mm-hmm.
taught very well.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, obviously the emotional aspect also is not the part that we necessarily get exposed to as much, some of us,
Mm-hmm. I
in
agree.
that
Yeah.
regard. So okay, coming out of then college and stuff, what was your next serious relationship then after that?
My next serious relationship was when I got to Shreveport. When I got to Louisiana. I was playing arena
Hey,
football there as well, and I think I met her on either MySpace or Black Planet. It was one of those dating apps or
geez,
whatever.
Black Planet, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was one of those, and so I think we dated for about 3 years. That was my next serious relationship or whatnot, and so yeah, but what's so crazy? I I remember telling her I was like, yeah, you're not my wife. I remember that vividly.
That,
Yes,
they're gonna
yeah.
drag you like they're gonna drag you like they dragged me last time when I said that. Go on, tell us, why did you say those words? Eh? Why did you tell her that she's not your wife? Eh?
But you have that feeling, and all right, I could see myself being with this person. And yeah, it was a good time, but there were certain qualities that I know I possess that I needed my wife to possess. I mean,
Mm,
a good time is a good time, but it was a sense of I would say
you could.
loyalty that wasn't there for me
Mm.
that would suffice enough to be in a long relationship with that. So that yeah,
What
and
was
maybe
she
we
missing,
huh?
Chris? Huh? What was she missing that you were looking for, sir?
Man, what was she missing? I would say a little bit of ambition, as
Mm,
far as like something that motivates her. Period. Just anything, and then and that person actually did step out, and so I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work, yeah, because at the time I started doing my oil and gas. I was traveling or whatnot, and so it was an incident. And I was like, yeah, that's not gonna work. But I would say that's lack of actually me being present like I needed to as well too. So I got to take some ownership in that, you know,
respect.
um, when that comes to it, because that also me not being present was a downfall of probably two other relationships after that, because I was
Mm,
so driven in my career, and now it's like, all right, that's only one piece of the puzzle. That
mm,
part's gonna be good, but you have to be there emotionally for that person. And her and I cool is no bad blood. Um, because I understood. I think though these relationships, like it teaches you to get better for the
mm,
next relationship. It's like we're all going through trials and tribulations as we're dating. Some just get there a lot quicker than others.
mm,
And so that's what it boils down to.
mm. Okay, so let me ask a question. When obviously she stepped out, how did it affect you?
Man, that's another part where I knew she wasn't my wife because it really didn't hurt. Yeah. It almost like I was kind of numb to it in a sense. So it didn't even really just anger me like that. It's just like almost like I was looking like I manifested, like I thought it in my mind. Like it's like, so something made her comfortable enough to go do that. You see what I'm saying? So, and then the way I reacted to it, where it's like it wasn't not like in my mind, I'm thinking,
Big
okay,
deal.
if someone cheats, I'm gonna be angry, I'm gonna do all the other stuff, but it's like it really didn't move me like I thought it would. So I was like, yeah, this definitely is not my wife, because I will feel differently. It would hurt more, and it really didn't hurt like that. I mean, that was one of the biggest regrets, that she communicated to me. But I'm like I said, it happened for a reason. So I'm glad it happened. So now when your next situation, don't repeat that, because now you look what happened with us. Even though, and and side note, even though in my mind I really didn't see us in long term, but still that's a lesson that we both learned, within that. Yeah.
So how long did that relationship go on for?
It was 3 years. Mm-hmm.
3 years, Chris?
3 years. I would say it was the first year was so we was talking, but I'll say out of that maybe serious, because I used to date for a long time. I would say at least two was like in a full-fledged relationship, because I'm counting the whole time of us like meeting and talking. So it was a 3-year situation, but maybe two of them was a serious relationship where it was committed, or maybe something like that. A year and 3/4, just in between, roughly. So yeah.
So wait. So at what point did you tell her that you didn't tell her that she's not your wife, did you? You didn't tell her, did you? Or
Yeah, I did. I told her that she's not my wife. I said that
God
before,
damn.
because
Wait, was that
I remember one of my
before the cheating?
before the cheating.
God
Yeah.
damn, you do what I did, God
I mean,
damn.
because brother, I didn't feel it, but I was like, and when I said maybe something will change, but this is my true feelings. This is
I hear
how I
you.
feel, and maybe at this level of life that we're in, I feel like this. Maybe
Yeah.
as we evolve and grow, something will click to where it makes sense. But this is just how I feel. You know,
Mm.
and that might have been a motivating thing. She probably like, well, shoot, a couple months ago he said I'm not his wife anyway, so let me do this or whatever. So that could have been a catalyst to that. So I mean, it happened, and I'm glad it happened. Because we both learned from it.
So let's have a real conversation now,
Let's
Cliff,
do
about
it.
this. Let's
Let's
have a
do
real
it.
conversation. So
Let's do it.
I was on Diffage Wife, which you obviously were as well.
Mm-hmm.
So on there I told a story about a particular ex that I had at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, during the beginning of the relationship, if you leave, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the beginning of the relationship, I was like, I don't think I should be here because, we're out here having sex and that's not what I really want to be doing. I want to be focused on you and try to get to know your mind and everything, right? As a
Mm-hmm.
Christian.
Yeah.
So when I told obviously that, I don't care if if you leave or not, do you know what I'm saying? Really, what was
Mm-hmm.
happening was I was trying to defend myself. I wanted to
Mm.
make sure that I kept power in the relationship by
Yes.
keeping a lid on my emotions, right?
Yes.
Because I'm a fearful avoidant person, right? So I should say,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, dismissive avoidant attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to keep people at bay and at distance, right?
Yes.
So this will tie back into what we were saying about earlier on, and having that conversation. I didn't want to go too deep just yet, talking about your
Mm-hmm.
father and obviously him passing. I know you
Yeah.
said obviously you had other people in your life, etc., etc. But if we can just analyze that comment that you made to her that she's not your wife, and you said it to her,
Mm-hmm.
was that really honesty, or
Mm-hmm.
was that you trying to protect your feelings by saying that to her, Chris?
Oh, that's a deep one. I mean, I would say it's a duality. I
Or
think it's a
both?
combination of both.
Okay.
Yes, I think it is,
Hmm.
because that's how I was feeling. And this girl was gorgeous, very beautiful. Most people would say she's really exotic. Her eyes was green, all this other stuff too. So it was something in my mind, and she was very highly sought after, right? That it's a possibility. So I wanted to callous my mind as if she did do that, I need to be okay. And I think I
Mm.
did such a great job that I made myself feel okay about it when it when it actually happened. So yeah, because I remember I played arena, when she would come to the game, like all my teammates and all the people would be like, dang, that's man, girl, like people were gawking after her, right? And
Mm,
so in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's so much temptation out there, and then I'm like, okay, something might happen. It's gonna be somebody smoother than me, smoother than grease, and so I think it's a combination of both with that,
mm.
the honesty and trying to protect myself in case it happened, which it did, so yeah.
So that see now this is where we're getting somewhere. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
now we're deep. Now we got the toes in the trenches. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Yeah? Because now I think I'm getting some understanding of where you're coming from, right? And I really do
Mm-hmm.
identify with what you're saying, right? Because as a dismissive attachment style, we are afraid of abandonment. That's just the
Mm-hmm.
key thing. We're afraid of abandonment. We're afraid of people getting too close. Because if
Yeah.
you get too close, I need to be able to control your emotions and mine,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't like being mastered by our emotions. So because
Yes.
we don't have a very good relationship with emotions, because we've never had the opportunity to really express it and to
Mm-hmm.
really actually be to be able to be communicative in that area. That's why I
Yeah.
was understanding what you said about obligation, duty, love, because those
Mm-hmm.
things don't require the emotive work. They just require you to act, and there's a reward, which is you're
Mm-hmm.
successful in your job, you're successful in terms of finances, and the world will reward you. Even women will reward you by
Yeah.
being in those spaces. It's
Exactly.
only when you have to maintain a relationship that there is an issue when it comes to that aspect of behavior. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
just kind of slightly go back a little bit before we go into Ready to
Mm-hmm.
Love. And just be like, okay, so I know you didn't have much of a relationship with your father, and I know that there were other men in the village who were kind of overseeing you.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back at it now, is there some aspect where there's some fear there of being necessarily maybe abandoned, or even dealing with your own emotions in terms of pain
Mm-hmm.
that you hadn't or have, I don't know, your perspective yet,
Yeah.
you hadn't dealt with or faced yet in terms of
That's
emotional aspects?
that's a very good question. I think for me, it's like it's that one Tupac verse when he was talking about, he can't feel for someone that he never knew, in a sense, right? And I think that's the mindset, is that I know my father was a good man. I've asked about him, and people said how meek he was, how nice and kind. He was a doctor, and so I know he was a soft man, and a prestigious man, very educated
Mm,
man. Um, but and maybe this is something I need to sit on somebody's couch, but I feel like I don't even have a void when it comes to him. I don't know if
mm,
that's something I've conditioned myself over the years, but when I think of him, I don't get sad. If I think of my
okay.
mother, I get sad. I
Mm,
have joy and happiness when I think of my mother. My father is kind of blank, in a sense. I just respect the fact. I respect the fact that he was my father, and I'm grateful for that, to be, son of a prince, future king. So, um, and I don't know. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I don't have any emotion when it comes to thinking about my father. My
mm,
godfather Carl, which is my best friend father, I tear up thinking about him.
yeah,
Because
he's
he was
black.
there. Yeah, because I love him so much. And it's like I'm doing for him all the things I wanted to do for my father. I'm taking care of him, where he's good, enjoy his golden years, so that gives me fulfillment in that aspect. But my biological father, I don't feel anything. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I just don't.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
don't
mean, it's
know.
never. It's never. I don't think I won't say whether it's good or bad either. I would say it's more of a case of I was just trying to understand maybe if
Yeah.
it did touch you in any particular way, because what you're describing when you're talking about how you're dealing with these women is exactly what I was doing. But obviously my dad's here; he's
Mm-hmm.
still available.
Mm-hmm.
But emotionally, because he's very similar to what we're describing, which is this very obligated. I put food in the back. I mean, I put food in your
Yes.
belly. I put a roof over your head, and you got clothes in your clothes on your skin. Yeah,
Bingo.
that's my love. That's
Bingo.
love. That's love
Yeah.
for you. You know what I mean? So that's why I was asking. I think you said more about your mum having more of that emotional aspect,
Mm-hmm.
conversational expression area as well. So I was trying to understand that to kind of see where you was coming from,
Yeah.
which is quite intriguing in that sense.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And could you think about obligation and duty and your role? Like my sister, she's here from Abuja visiting. As soon as she got to my place, I had to furnish her a vehicle. I have to supply her with pocket change to go spend. I have to make sure all her accommodations is made for. Now, one thing about my sister, as soon as she got here, we went to the store and she started cooking while I was doing work. It was just a natural
Cool.
response for her to just go in the kitchen, prepare me some food, and I got to make sure the car is gassed up, everything's looking good, and she has some money to spend and enjoy herself while she's here. So those are things I think about where I got to set aside that for my siblings. Um, Being a baby brother is just that's just what it is. Whoever's in a position to do those things, we just obligated to do those things.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So obviously, I love the fact, and listen, a lot of ladies love this, the fact that you take care of stuff. So listen, shout out to you. All right,
Oh,
you're stealing all of
thank you,
these
man.
from
Thank
Ghana.
you.
All the Ghanaian girls are going to Nigerian boys. So, so I love the fact that you spoke about that because I think that's really important, right? Because that's also a part, like I said, it's a part of love, right?
Yes.
That aspect where you are able to take care of family and it's not asked, it's just knowledge that we should do this.
Yes.
So my question is, taking that aside, and obviously I'm sure your mum also was helping in this aspect, but since you've always had the mindset that is like, gotta take care of it, gotta take care of it, gotta take care of it,
Mm-hmm.
who has been taking care of Chris in this lifetime?
Ooh. Well, it's so crazy because in this, it's like a self-serving type thing. Me making sure that they're good brings me joy, to be honest. So
Mm,
it feels good for my sister to be like, oh, my brother's gonna take care of this. My brother's gonna be,
mm.
Daddy, I need some pocket change. Like it almost feels like I have a purpose in
I
a
hear that.
sense. So
That's meant, yeah.
and if like when I had one horrible financial year and I thought about my family, like, dang, what if something happens and they need me? And the guilt, I started feeling a little guilty that I
Mm,
wasn't going to be able to if something was to happen right now. So as far as taking care of me, I feel that my wife is going to be able to do that. I feel because my siblings take care of me as well. My friends, I have really solid friends where they got me. When I had those moments where, I felt like the world was crashing and I had these dark thoughts and things like that, they all came like that and was there for me. And I never forget that, like 2016 or whatever. I think I lost everything. And so I had to start back over from scratch. And I almost forgot who I was. So I owe my friends that debt, and that gratitude. So therefore, I my meaning of life for me is to be able to do whatever I want to do, when I want to do it, and with who I want to do it with. And those are
mm,
my friends. So I put it on myself to where I got to make sure that they're good also, because it ain't fun if you're the only person that's doing something. You know what I'm saying? When you come
I
back,
agree.
it's not fun. And it correlates even in relationships. Though I want to
Mm-hmm.
pay, I'm okay paying all the bills. I have to make sure my wife has her own money too. Because I think people get it mixed up when they get money. They use it as a form of power. It's not a
Mm,
form of control. They use it for control, right? And that's because they don't understand how it works and the purpose of it. It's just a tool. And then people want to demonize money is the root of all evil. No, that's what broke people say to make themselves feel better. You know, so therefore, that's my motivating intrinsic. Like it makes me feel good, in that
mm,
sense where I know if one of my close ones is struggling, I can help them. And I know for a simple fact, if I need something, I can call them. I was actually purchasing land the other day and I called my brother Dean. I said, hey, can you wire me some X amount? And he just did it. And luckily I didn't need it and I sent it back. But just to have someone that would just do that, not knowing what's going on, is powerful. You see what I'm
mm,
saying? And that's the power of unity in a community, and that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. And Black Americans are nothing against them, but I don't think they understand that part of unity. Now, my close circle, I pound that in all of our conversations when we're having group discussions, and they understand it. It's just the unselfish concern of another's well-being. That's unity. Acting, feeling, being as one. So those things are creeds. Those things that are embedded. It's like someone going to the military. There's a rigorous things that you go with your compadres to where you build a bond, right? So life is like that. So it's like if we're going through something, I'm gonna see the man or the woman you are when we go through adversity. So I know I can stand next to you and be like, okay, I'm good because she has my back, he has my back, and if they tired, I'm gonna put them on my back, and we're gonna finish this race. So that's the part that kind of gives me that excitement, that self-serving satisfaction, and it is what it is. Like that brings me joy.
Okay, listen, I hear you.
Oh yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not here. So then that leads into there's two questions I've got before we go into RTL, right? One is obviously you spoke about gender roles. So I want to understand where your idea of gender roles is, right? Because obviously
Perfect.
RTL cut it, so we didn't get to have a full discussion
Yeah,
about
they did.
what you believe gender roles is. And please be as truthful as possible, because
Oh,
you know
I'm gonna
us
tell you
Africans,
everything. I'm tell you
we know
everything.
how we like our gender roles.
I love gender roles, man. I feel that it's a necessity. Again, I'm not gonna harp on it again, but protect and provide is a man's obligation, right? But there are moments where women have to protect as well, right? So let's say we out and we got some fine girls, right? And this guy is hitting on your girl. She knowing that it's 10 of them and her man, I'm coming from the restaurant. She has to protect me in the regard, be like, hey, I'm married, I'm with someone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But you'll find women that will like be snooty to that person, create conflict. Now I'm coming out the restroom and I'm they looking at me ready to fight. So therefore, that's an aspect of protection. And when I talk about things that men can do and women can or can't do, and vice versa, like bear children, men we cannot bear children. That's a woman thing. That's a powerful thing. And I always say again, multiple times that God is a black woman in my mind, right? And when I say it as far as like leadership and making decisions, there are a lot of more men in leadership roles in my mind because the speediness of making that decision. Not saying that their decision is better than a woman's decision. And I also think most women are more analytical than men, right? But if you ask a woman, hey, what do you want to eat? I don't know. It's going to take some time to figure that out. So as a man, you can say, okay, we're going to go here. We're going to go to this restaurant, this Italian restaurant. We're gonna go to this Afro beach place and eat, So that's what I was saying. And it was someone arguing with me. I said, well, yes, there are more women might have more education and things, but if we think of a global aspect, there are more men in leadership. There's some countries where they don't even respect women, And I also think that, like, for me in my household, I feel bills, and I don't think women in my house should touch trash. I feel it's beneath them. So I always take out the trash. That's just my personal thing. If my sister does it or whatever, that's because she wants to. That's fine. I prefer her not to touch trash. So all these things I'm saying is my preference. It's not set in stone. And it's like I think it was someone on the show and it was like, well, he doesn't want a woman to be a boss or run their own business. He wants to control this and that. If you think about the three women that I was connected to, Lee, Aries, and Kat, they're all CEOs of their businesses. They're all bosses, but they're also all soft as well too. So I think a lot of time people try to create a narrative that's not there or twist it. It's like the Bible with a lot of these pastors. You can take a scripture and have 100 different definitions. You see what I'm saying? I can meet 100 people and they can have 100 different opinions about me. So those are things that I would say with gender roles. I think it's a conversation. All right, this is what I subscribe to. This is what I subscribe to. Now let's have a common ground and see what works for us. If my wife loves taking out the trash, that's her favorite thing to do. Well, baby, all right, well, go ahead and take out the trash then. That's just what it is. But for me, I just prefer not for her to touch trash like that. And bills, I want to be able to pay all of our bills. And if she wants to pay a bill, she can. If that gives her a sense of entitlement, and she can make her own money. My thing with that, as long as what I'm doing and you're doing isn't affecting what we're doing, then I'm okay with that. If she loves this business and she wants to travel for work and I got what I going on, I'll put things in place where I'll go with her to travel to pursue her passion, because I've already pursued my passion. I'm good. I'm in my calling, what God and the universe has for me right now. I'm in it and I'm doing more of it. So with gender roles, it's more of a conversation on what I like and what you like with that. So it's nothing that's just set in stone, but there are certain things. I don't think a woman should stand in front of a bullet. I don't want to get shot either, but if it's between me and her, I'll be gladly get in front of her in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even hesitate. It's just that's the honor, the noble thing that it's just wired in my head like that.
That's fair. So you in a sense you're as what we describe the traditional male, which is that
Hmm.
and not just a traditional male in terms of just wanting traditional roles, but you're also doing the financial aspect too, because that also usually is a tricky point that people always stick
Yeah,
on.
it
So
is. It
fair
is.
point.
It
That's a
is.
fair point.
Yeah, it's like everyone talk about the 50-50, man. Nothing's really 150-50 all the time.
Mm,
You don't know how you're feeling today, how she's feeling. It's just it's no exact amount that it's gonna always be like that. And if you want to be like that, that's fine. You can find somebody like that. It's enough people on this planet where you can find your match or your matches. Several will fit within your puzzle. You know.
mm. That's fair. Okay, so maybe and a question came up because it came in my head. Yeah. But again, obviously, it might be slightly different for you. In my household,
Hmm.
um, how my parents are set up. Because I'm just trying to think of something, right? Because in my household, how it's set up, yeah, obviously my mom, my dad's the lead, mom follows,
Hmm.
right? And what I saw was a lot of time my mom deferring to my dad. So anything you want to go out, go and
Yeah.
speak to your dad. You want to go and do
Absolutely.
this, go speak to your dad.
Yeah.
Da-da-da. So I saw a lot of deferment in that way, right? I
That's true.
also saw with my dad also respect is a huge thing. It's
Yes.
massive,
It's
right? It's
yes.
huge.
I would take respect over love.
Mm,
Yeah, that's just me. And in our culture, like it might, let's say the women is the breadwinner, but I got a lot of uncles where my aunts, they don't even know what they make. They just send a check straight to my uncle, and then my uncle take care of everything, because they understand their chain of command. Like my wife can make a whole, she gonna probably make 99 the decisions, but if it's that one that I stand on, that's just how it's gonna be.
mm,
And you got to think about it like this. Man is the head, woman is the neck. So you guys are turning us anyway. So women have a lot of power. It's a lot of
mm,
power and submission that a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of and I want to use my terminology good. A lot of the simple thought process don't understand that. That is more power and submission than trying to debo someone or strong arm them to do what you want them to do. If my wife doing anything, how can I tell her no? It doesn't. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
mm. So then, obviously, then, going on that as well,
Mhm.
I think, like you said, respect's a huge thing. And I think for one of the things, and this is something that I just noticed about myself, so I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, I like my dad would say like, and it's not just the ladies, it's anyone that is in terms of chain command, because obviously that's how we are
Hmm.
in Africa, especially Ghana and Nigeria. And people
Yeah.
in Tuareg that we're from. The chain of command, right? So in the chain of
Hmm.
command, the person at the top has the most responsibility, um, and the person at the bottom has the least
Yeah.
responsibility. Um, but as you have the least responsibility, you don't get to behave anyhow, right? So one of the things that my dad didn't like
Yeah.
is talking back. It
Yes.
is rude, like facial expressions. We
Hmm.
don't do none of that stuff.
Hmm.
He hated the trigger words: stupid, dumb, foolish, idiot, f
Yeah.
words. They are all out of the like. If you even venture there, it's gonna get peaked for everybody in the household. Like
Yes.
those are like major things that speak to disrespect. And so one
Hmm.
thing that I noticed, and it's something I had to work on, and is that when I was dealing with any woman or any girl when I was young, our culture's different. So if you're coming from a Ghanaian culture, coming into a European culture, a lot of people they're reared in a different way, and that's not
Yeah.
bad or good, or it's just we're different cultures. And one of the things that I found very difficult
Hmm.
was, and I'll be real, 100% real, is a woman coming into your face, number one, any of that start happening, physically getting into your face, one,
It
can't state
doesn't.
that, can't do that, doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Shouting, screaming in my face. If I don't shout and scream, you shouldn't be shouting and screaming.
Hmm.
And any insults, like
Yes.
specifically any kind of like you're a fool, you're an idiot, you're stupid, and any of those kind of words, they used to send me to the moon because in this country in UK,
Yes.
that's normal for them. So when I got into a relationship, I found myself in a lot of combative situations
Hmm.
where
Good word
I'm
choice.
having some yeah I'm having some heated battles
Hmm.
with the woman that I'm with, or even women in general, because how I
Yeah.
saw things and how where we came from, And I used to always say this as well, like, the only reason why you do this to me is because you don't respect who I am. Because if you respected what I am, then you wouldn't do this.
You
Because
wouldn't do that.
if it
Yes.
you wouldn't do that, because you wouldn't. And we used to have a thing where we say, the boys used to say, if you wouldn't stand in front of a lion and slap it in the face, you should not come and stand in my face either.
Bingo.
Because
Yeah.
you see the lion and you understand what the lion is, so you don't talk that way to a lion. You show respect, right? Because
Yes.
you're scared the lion could eat you. But
Yes.
with myself, you're stepping to me and thinking that you can just talk anyhow, anyway, and it's a huge thing, as that shows a complete breakdown in respect, and that is such a huge trigger, especially
Absolutely.
us as African men, especially in the West African. I don't know about the African. Let me just say the West Africans
Yeah.
specifically. I
What's that?
know
Yes.
that for us is a big thing.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that resonates with you.
Yeah. That's perfect. You know, and if you don't have respect, you don't have nothing. You know, and that's how I exactly what you said, as far as like the raising of the voice, calling out of the names, those things. Our women don't do that. You know, it just doesn't happen unless it's their child. You know, but they don't. Yeah, so that is a huge trigger for African men. You know, with that being said, so you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's disrespectful.
Cool, I got that something. So the final one about this before we go into Ready to Love. The lady that was on Ready to Love that came and said that she was your girlfriend at the time and said she got lost in your sauce. Whatever sauce you had given her, she got lost in your sauce. I need you to explain that, what happened, because it sounded like old girl got lost in the sauce, and like she got lost in Chris' world, and nothing else seemed to matter. So just clarify that and just clear it up for us, what happened and what that actually meant.
Well, I will say this: she probably was the best girlfriend I've ever had. You know, as far as like catering, nurturing, all those things, she had all those qualities. It was more so me, because I was so engulfed in my work, and it was almost like I was making her a long-term girlfriend in a sense, right? It's like you getting the milk without the cow, you know. So now it wasn't like a dictatorship with her or anything like that. So she did get a little extra on that episode, because when she was talking to Lee and Aries, she loved them. It was crazy, like the connection, and she's like, "Yeah, that's them. Those are my favorite," you know. So I think with her, I would say I probably mishandled that, you know. And when she asked, as far as like, was I there for her needs or whatnot, that was the first time I heard that on national television. So I was like, oh, well, that's how she really feels. I'm gonna apologize to this woman, you know. And I'm like, maybe if she would have communicated that while we was together, things probably could have been a little bit different, you know, because I'm doing what I know to do. And that's just that. So I just came off, I think I said earlier, with my career, I was at my lowest point. I'm constantly building up so I'll never get back there. So I had strict tunnel vision with that. And I feel I neglected her within that process. You know, but she did say that it didn't matter what was going on. If she needed me, I was there. You know, she could call me, I'll stop what I'm doing, stop my interview appointment or Zoom call, and I go straight there and handle it, and I go back to work. So it's like a robot, you know. So I think that's what exactly what she meant, as far as, you know, I took her the things I needed to take care of, but I don't think I was giving her what she really needed, because I really know exactly what she needed. You know, I'm thinking everything's good because we're going on trips, nice restaurants, things of that nature. We prevent well together. We're just having a good time. But it was other things that I wasn't providing, or was lacking in a relationship.
The emotional aspect.
Yes. Yeah.
How long y'all together for?
We was together. That probably was like 3 to 3 years, 2 to 3 years, something like that, give or take.
Been a long relationships, boy.
I know, man. That's a lucky number, I guess. I don't need to play the lottos, but it
Sounds
was
like sounds like
somewhere
sounds
within
like
that.
three again. So wait, how many relationships have ended
It
at the
was like
3 year
3 to
mark,
4
Chris?
years, huh?
How many relationships have ended at the 3 or 4 year mark for you?
Those two, because I had one that was 7
Damn.
years. Yeah, it
And
was
what
an
happened to
on.
that one?
Yeah, that was my high school. High school was, well, that wasn't relationship. I would say this one, it started out a little bit in college, and then I'm separating it, because we started out a little bit in college, and then later on we got back together. So it's a combination of the time frame, you know. So yeah, if you add them in those two different segments, I'll say it equaled up around 6, 7 years, somewhere around there. Hmm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So okay. So going into Ready to Love,
Mhm.
I, listen. I'm sure you do well. You don't need help finding a woman. So what took you to Ready to Love? Why did Chris the King go on to Ready to Love?
So it's so crazy. Even with that, we said the king. My family in Nigeria would send me pictures of women on WhatsApp, like candidates.
Mm,
Which one? Please talk about which one do you like? Take one, please. Please take one.
mm.
Take your wife. And so I remember talking to my brother and asking my daughter about Ready to Love. And I don't know if you remember Simone from Houston.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So Simone called me and was like, "Hey, Chris, Ready to Love's coming to Dallas. I think you'd be perfect for it." And mind you, I'm not a big TV person. I've heard of it,
Mm,
seen small clips of it, and I'm like, I don't know, Simone. Like, that's a reality show. It's fake. You can't find love on there. Talked to my brother Brian about it. And he was like, "Well, you said that this is what you want. You want your wife. You're at that stage now. This is probably an opportunity because what's the odds of something coming the same time we're talking about this?" Like I'm ready to take a wife, and that was really the deciding factor. Talking to my daughter and talking to Brian, and so I like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot, and so that's what
mm,
happened pretty much. Hmm.
mm. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So you went onto the show. You get onto Ready to Love. That first,
yeah.
I always like, that first moment where you arrive, you touch ground, your feet have touched the Ready to Love soil. Uh, you touch the Ready to Love soil,
Hmm.
and then, you see the first person. So who
Yeah.
first, caught your eye? Who's the first person that caught
I
your
was the
eye?
very first person, and the next person was Jessica. She was the
Mm,
next person that came, and her dress was bomb. I was like, yeah, she was looking good. Like she that I was like, okay, because I love when a woman can dress and the style and the fashion, So that was the first person that caught my eye at the mixer was Jessica, definitely. Hmm.
okay, so Jessica was the one that caught your eye, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Because as soon as I was
Mm,
like, okay,
fine babe.
all right, Dallas.
Mm. Fine, babe. Okay. So just the one that caught your eye. Okay. So and then during the mixer, who's the first kind of um person that really kind of had a good conversation with you? Like,
A
like you
good
had a conversation with
conversation. Actually, Tequila. Me and Tequila had a
oh,
really good conversation. Aries, when I saw Aries, we both lit up because me and Aries knew each other,
okay.
So I knew Aries and I knew Leanne. And so me and Aries, I would say we was a little lazy. Like since we knew each other, knew of each other, we didn't really talk that much because we kind of had a basis or whatnot. We had to travel in the same similar circles or whatnot. But Tequila and I had a good conversation. Unique and I had a really good conversation as well too. And of course, Jessica and I had a good conversation. Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
Okay. So Tequila, Jess. Okay, okay. You had
Yeah.
good conversations.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was pretty
okay.
good.
And
Yeah.
whose number did you get on the first day? So like whose number did you get on the first day?
Aries, because I didn't have her number. I think that's it. I think Aries. I don't know if I got Tequila's. Um, Yeah, I think Aries. Aries was
Mm.
the one was the only one I got her number, if my memory serves me correctly. Hmm.
Mm. Did the relationship blossom to you in Aries or?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Even after the fact, because I think all of us got closer after the show.
Mm.
Because then you really got to during the show we got real familiar, but after the show we were able to just really dive in, and we talk all the time. Me, Aries, Cat Lee pretty much talk almost every day. Got to learn more about Tequila. Unique was cool. Kira. I also, like I said, knew Leanne. Her and I didn't talk as much after the show, but yeah, it was. I would say post show, that's where more of the bonds was made. Because now it's no pressure. You can, kind of like later on when we'll get into that. Like, hey, once I got the numbers of who I want to talk to, it didn't matter. The show didn't even matter anymore at that point.
Mm.
So
Tell us about the relationship that, well, I say relationship, but the connection that began to form with Tequila and then fizzled out because she said that you was you wasn't giving what you needed to give apparently. But what was tell us a little bit about this interaction with Tequila and
Tequila,
that. Yeah, because
We
look
had
like
we had a good we
you
had a
two were
good
starting off somewhere, and
conversation.
then
We had a good
yeah.
conversation at the mixer. We got to talk about family. She lived in Shreveport, which I lived in Shreveport for a little bit, so we had that in common. We never went on any dates. The only time we talked was at that mixer. Yeah, at that mixer. I'm trying to think if she did the brunch, and that was short. But that's really it. Just that span of conversation was a good one, but we didn't really have another conversation after that before she got eliminated. Yeah, I think it was not too long before she got eliminated. Maybe she was like the second or third woman or something like that. But yeah, it was short. It was short lived.
Mm. Yeah, what was she saying that what happened? She said that what did she say exactly? She said that you had connections elsewhere or something like that. Is what she said, something
Oh
like that?
yeah, because I put more. I was talking to. I'm not sure if I think it was Jessica Lee and Aries
Mm.
at the time, more so. Because those are where I gravitated more within my journey in that beginning stages was those three ladies until Kat came and she shook it up.
Mm. Okay,
But
so
yeah.
the Aquila situation kind of fizzled out in a
Yeah,
sense
it
because
fizzled out, but we still maintain a
yeah.
good friendship. I love her. She's probably the sweetest person on our show. Like, has the kindest heart, the shortest fuse. Tequila probably the most emotional woman. I'm probably the most emotional guy on the cast.
Mm.
So and it's easy to pull her pin, in that grenade. So she's one of those you want to protect, because she wants everyone to be her friend. She wants to be accepted in a sense. And I can resonate with that because I understand. It's like I can see where I was in my childhood with that, where wanting people to like me or give me the same amount of love that I'm giving out because she's a sweetheart,
Mm.
Yeah, and that's probably why her and Habibi kind of was still cool because it was like she wanted to protect Habibi,
Mm.
and regardless of what the what he was doing, she was like ride or die. School is super loyal. I will say that about her.
Mm.
Like,
She rather
yeah.
die to the death. Literally. Okay, so that fizzled out. So then obviously your connection with Aries, where did that go? Because of course we didn't get to see as much of it on the show. We saw a little bit of it because we saw
Yeah.
that you guys had a date. You spoke about your mom on that date.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us that. Bring us into the world of Chris and Aries. What was happening? Because you guys already knew each other. So,
Yeah.
or at
Yeah.
least knew of each other. So tell
Uh-huh.
me a little bit more about that connection.
So Aries and I had a really good connection. I would say me and Phil was the only two connections. And when when they told me who was coming to my house, I got super excited. I'm like, okay, it's Aries.
Mm.
So that's when I got the chef Kev, which is the chef that's in Dallas to come out. I almost got my brother name, Charles or whatever. He came, and then it was a saxophonist that I was trying to get, but he couldn't change his flight. And so I was really excited about that. Chef Carl, I'm sorry, I don't jack his name up, but he came and did his thing. We had a good time. We talked about a lot of things, and they didn't really show all of that date, which they only show highlights and snippets. But we've always had a really good connection, good chemistry between us. Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Aries got the smile in the eyes.
Listen, she's a fine babe. Can't lie to you. I met her when I was in DC. So why did it not go the full length? Why did it go? Why did it not go the full length?
The full.
Finish.
Oh, it didn't. Okay,
Eh?
well, I mean, I think everything happened for a reason. I think when I got eliminated, that changed up a lot of things for my three connections at that point. Also, her and Phil connection was very, very nice. We all
Mm.
enjoyed it. Even though her and I had a really good connection, and we would joke, like the three of us used to hang out and have a really good time. And I remember me and Phil had like a little internet beef about over Aries on Instagram. It was kind of funny. And Phil was the guy I was closest to during the process. Ironically, we both like the same girl. It was one of our connections or whatnot. So
Mhm.
I really liked what I saw in them two as well. So it did kind of give you some moments of pause on that part. Like, that's in that newness, I think they both enjoyed as well too. So
Mm.
it's that was they had my vote. per se, during the show.
So it wasn't because you weren't stable either.
Oh no, it wasn't because I wasn't stable. Is that what you said?
I have to make sure you were stable. I have to make sure. I have to make sure you're stable, bro. Okay. Aries don't do no
Hey,
instability. Okay.
Phil got a job. Phil is good. I'm
Oh,
gonna
we
tell you
know.
this. Phil was not the most the most uncomfortable person financially on the show. I'll say that. He wasn't. He does good. He does good for himself. I think Aries more so wanted a plan, and he really didn't give her his plan. But Phil does good for himself financially. Yeah. You can Google his job. I think it's supply chain analyst. It sounds really good. So yeah, he's got to be making good money. It sounds so nice. So yeah, definitely.
It's good to know. So okay, that fizzled out. But tell us a little bit about that moment though, quick before we move on. The moment between you and Aries, where you did kind of break down a little bit. You showed some vulnerable, raw moments in that space. What was going on
Yeah.
in that moment for you?
Man, I didn't think it was gonna happen. I was trying so hard to fight, getting that emotional because I thought about my mom and like I was saying, the way she treats her sons and that nurturing side. And I know she just had her dad just pass, and so that's because we talk about it. Her and I talked about that off camera, both of our parents and how impactful they were. So that was a moment where I was like, oh man, I'm on TV, getting ready to cry. But that's my mom. So and it was a lot of people. That's when people started the whole soft or whatever the case may be. But that's my mom. I'll be 80 and cry with my mom. I don't care. Like that's not gonna hurt my feelings. Someone saying that I'm soft because I cried with my mother, that's deceased. Yeah, it's just that moment was a very powerful moment for her and I. And we even talked about it after the fact. And I've been there when she's gotten emotional and things of that nature. So that was something that kind of bonded Aries and myself, and based on a lot of the off-camera conversations. Mm-hmm.
I respect that. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so Aries down. That relationship obviously, took its
Yeah.
course and came to a particular point. So then obviously you had Jessica and you had Lee. So tell me about this connection with Lee. I ain't gonna lie, Lee's a little baddie. But tell
Baddie.
me about this kid. She a little baddie. I ain't gonna lie to
Baddie.
you,
Lee's
okay?
a baddie.
When did you and Lee start to connect?
I think Lee and I connected. I think more so after the hold down. More so, she was always and what brought us together is the family aspect. I actually went to school with her brother and her sister. And
Okay.
so that right there, me knowing her brother and her sister, like they are solid. They went to Duncanville High School with me, and her mom is amazing, So once we got to talking about that, because naturally, if you see people that are fit, people want to pair them up together, So I think that's why they were trying to pair her and Quentin together. But Lee typically doesn't date trainers. She doesn't
Yeah,
date
that's
fitness
good. Yeah.
guys. Um, and so when we start talking about that, and so I just start learning more about her because she's not an open book. You gotta turn them pages yourself, with Lee.
What does
And
that
so
mean?
you meet her, she's gonna smile, be nice, but she's not gonna go deep with you until she gets comfortable enough. So
Mm,
if she's not someone that you're just gonna fall head over heels just like that. You have to get like talk more with her, find that common ground. And that's what happened. Then we realized we like a lot of the same things. She's ambitious. So it was natural, and even on a friend day, meeting her friend, Muffin, that I knew from years ago, almost 10 years ago, I was like, that's crazy, in my college days. I met Muffin in my college days initially. And so, and Muffin knew how honest I was in college and straightforward.
mm,
I had a reputation as far as that, and I treated people good. So for her to vouch for me was amazing. And Lee was like, "Oh wow," because she knows her friends, And
mm,
but Lee is something special. Like we talk a lot. It's one of those like if I need to talk to someone about something out the blue, she's gonna always pick up, and vice versa. So yeah, look what cut that.
What y'all talking about? That's what I want to know. I want to know what the hell y'all talking about.
All good stuff. All good stuff, man. We
Huh?
talking some good stuff. Some
You
good
talking some good
business.
stuff? Huh? The show's over, so I can even ask this question. Are you guys dating? That's the question.
So you guys dating?
You guys
Hey,
dating? Because we saw the connect 1 2 1 2. We saw the little
the
chat. The
connectivity.
connect. We saw the 1 2 1 2 on the Instagram. Are you guys dating? That's the question.
Wait,
Huh?
so man, with any of them, as a man, I always let the women have that. You're gonna interview all of them, and so
I am gonna interview
yeah,
her. Yes.
one of them gonna say something. Somebody's gonna say something. So I'll let them be, because guys, we don't care. You always gotta let the women disclose things that they're comfortable with. So.
Well, don't blame me if I shoot my shot and I don't know the
Hey,
ins and outs of the
shoot your
spectrum code.
shot, man.
If I shoot my shot now, what are you gonna
Hey,
say? No, you
you
can't say that
can't.
now. You ain't told me that it's your thing, Chris. You haven't told me this is you. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you only miss the shots you never take. You know what I'm saying? You only miss the shots you never take. I like it. I'm a vouch for you.
I'm playing. No, okay, I respect that as well. I respect that. You're right. I'll let ladies determine that aspect. Okay, so what is it about Lee that drew you in then? So for you, I know you guys have great conversations, but what is it about Lee that during the process drew you in?
Man, you know what's so crazy? Lee has a raspy voice. And I like that during the process. Lee has a soft side, and then knowing, like, I asked her about her. We talked about her previous relationships and how she handled those relationships. She exudes wifey qualities. You know what I'm saying? Her and Aries both were extremely classy ladies. Kat as well. So Lee, you can plug her in a wife right now, like yesterday.
I agree.
You don't have to worry about that one. And that's one of the things that I think that sets her apart from a lot of people. Is not the physical, because everybody fine nowadays. Everybody, it's easier for a woman to make herself up and hit them angles to be a baddie on social media. So those things, it's more the insides and the conversation, the mentality. What's your vision for yourself? How do you want to have your household? So she aligned with a lot of the things that I look for. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay,
She takes the submission, isn't it?
yeah, and she takes that, yes.
Okay. So I mean, so obviously from your perspective, I have to be real. From your perspective, obviously she had a connection with Quentin, and of course we didn't get to see as much of your connection with her, right? We saw more of her connection with Quentin. So from your perspective, how did that look? Because that, from our perspective, she was locked in from Quentin from earlier. I can't even lie to you the way they. Well, it might be different from your
I'm gonna
perspective.
say this. When I got in the picture, Quentin was no longer in the picture. So the production is gonna keep showing their dates, and that's just what it is. Nothing against him. Me and him, we cool. We don't have no riffs. If he got an issue, that's on him. That's a personal problem. But because I feel that they scripted us to have our own characters. Like they had, like, okay, Chris is gonna be the controlling Nigerian. Quinn is gonna be a fitness person. Red is gonna be the loud DJ or whatever. Unique is gonna be this. The Quill's gonna be this. I think they all had their own thing set in place for us. You see what I'm saying? And we shook that up because we totally. I remember one time when me and Aries had a date, they were like, "It's okay, we know her and Phil," and we both looking like, "What the no?" Then they start realizing, "Oh, it's really a connection there." Same with Lee. They're like, "Oh, Chris and Lee really like each other." They had a lot of eureka moments throughout production with that, and then now it's like, okay, we got to figure this out. Because now it's not adding up when we was trying to create this storyline, but they doing their own thing, and so that's pretty much. So yeah, her and Quentin were cool. I think they'll make good chums, good friends and buddies, but I don't on a
He's the Nigerian, you taking precedence because you have to work with me now. Let's go back.
You
Let's go
just
back.
go back. We
Let's
don't
go
waste
back.
time, you know.
When did you
You
enter this
enter
fray between you and Lee? Because
when
you're
you
telling me that
enter this
When you enter
lifestyle.
Quentin will have it. Yeah, you said Quentin, when you enter Quentin will have it. So when did you and Lee connect that Quentin also to now had to stick to his Janelle? When did you enter at that point? What point in the show did you enter?
I think it was one time we was in a lounge, and then I think I told him like, yeah, Lee, we having a good connection. We was talking more or whatnot, and I think Quentin always liked the Janelle and Lee, like from the jump. It always would been that. But then once Lee and I started talking on the phone, it was a wrap. It's just is yeah, our lifestyles is different. You know, for what Lee is looking for, I check more of those boxes. You know, like that. You know, and same as far as what I was looking for, and a strong woman that's also submissive. You know, so that's where that connection was heading towards, because I was able. It was natural. You see what I'm saying? You know how sometimes you're like trying, some situation is forced, where somebody can say, "Hey, what wifey qualities?" and then you take a long pause, and then they might ask you about somebody else, and you just keep going, like a list of things, right? So I think our connection, and all three of my connections, it was easy. It was no effort to try to say something that it wasn't there. Like, it was natural, it was flowing, great time, and that's what happened with me and Lee. Mm-hmm.
So okay, so help me understand so the audience can also understand where they're coming from. So obviously you okay, so when you guys always start talking on the phone, everything like that, blah 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 blah. Connections getting built.
Mm-hmm.
Why then does the show not extend your stay? Because we know that it's produced, and we know that
Mm-hmm.
as much as the men were choosing, the women actually weren't choosing, according
Mm-hmm.
to Quentin. He said the women actually were choosing, but weren't there wasn't impact and results. So
Mm-hmm.
if you and Lee have a connection, and obviously we know that you had to go. I think you went before the house, isn't it? You didn't go
No,
to
no,
the
no. I
house.
get to the house. I went to the getaway.
Okay, so you went to the house. So
Uh-huh.
so why is it? Do you feel
That,
like the show did not show any of your? Because that would have been interesting. Because
yes.
we barely saw you talk with Lee, even in the house situation. Surely that would have been
And
amazing
in the
content
house,
for
me and
us.
Lee was like this the whole house. That was it. Like, in the house, it was me, Lee, Maria, Jessica, Quentin, Janelle, and Phil, Aries. That was a combination, in the house. And I don't know. I think it was just too juicy for them to do it the way that they did it. You know, because that's just what, at that point, that was it. It was us at that point when we got to the house. Like, the house was a great time. We had a blast. They didn't show the part where we really enjoyed each other. Because my mind was made up. Okay, I'm going to be there with the people I care about, my friends, and I don't have to communicate with some other individuals. I'm just going to focus here, and that's what we did. Lee and I had great conversations. We hung out with Aries, Phil, Cat, as well. The guys got along. It was a really good experience. Outside of what you guys saw, the house was great. And you think about, like, even when we were having the discussions, if they thought that I felt this way about gender roles or equality, and then the three women, they're like, oh, we know what you're talking about, Chris. They all was there. Why wouldn't they say something like, no, we disagree? No, we all was in the same page on the gender roles, and how I thought. They all totally understood what I was saying, and they was like in agreement with it. So it's like
Mm.
you have to dig deeper to make it make sense, you know. And so that's, yeah. I wish they would have showed more of us. I wish they would have.
Yeah, we do really get that. Okay, so
Yeah,
wait, pinpoint for me so that audience also can get pinpointed. At
mm-hmm.
what point did you
Mm-hmm.
say, do you know what, this is the bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh? When did at that point did you say this Lee is the one that I'm wanting?
I would say when she came to my house to meet my ex. Yeah,
Okay.
they didn't show their date. That was
Oh
a really
damn.
good. That was a really good date. We played basketball in my house. I keep saying I won, but I think Lee, or my ex, I think Lee won the basketball game. Um, and so, and when my ex co-signed for Lee, that's what made it like, okay, that's what it is. you know, because my ex loved me and she cares about me. She wants the best for me. So when she said that, I was like, okay, because women see things that we don't see,
Of
you know.
course, yeah.
And so that was very, very important when that transpired. Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
mind-boggling because
Yeah, I
look,
know, right?
this because I don't, and maybe I haven't, because I haven't watched most people have interviewed you, so, or anybody on the cast actually this season. I haven't
Yeah,
done much watching of interviews, so I have no clue. But this is the first time I've heard that this connection was this serious. I knew that you guys had a bit of a connection, but
yeah,
I never knew the connection on the show was this serious.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying to you? Like that, that this is like deep. Like y'all had a
yeah.
real, and I'm not just about connection. Y'all got actually deep with it. So
Mhm.
just it's a little bit like whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of like even with when I showered her with a gift, that wasn't supposed to be recorded. That was just something I was doing for her. You know, when I went on the
Is that the
date with,
slippers?
go ahead.
Is that the slippers that you talking about?
Yes,
The
the
gift.
slippers. You know, I didn't know
Oh,
what the gift was until she opened it.
oh,
So the thing how that transpired, when I went to go see Jessica's friends, they wanted me to bring a gift, and I said no, I will not. I will not bring a gift because she's no longer my connection. So I'm not doing it. That's when Marie brought a candle and gave it to her. So at the retreat, I wanted to give Lee a gift because Lee gave me she defended me, you know, when I'm not there, and she cared about me. So that was just a gift. And so at that point, I called Muffin. I reached out to Muffin to find out what she wants because I thought about workout shoes because he has so plenty. And so I sent my card information and I sent the driver to go to Neiman Marcus to pick out something. Muffin picked it, and then they transported it to the getaway where it was at. So they drove over there. So all that just was on the whim, you know. And then they was like, okay, well, we want to air this on the show, and I'm like, oh man, because I kind of didn't want them to air it because I didn't want them to think that I was trying to flex financially, you know.
I understand
But
you.
the meaning behind it, the reaction she got based on why I gave it was well worth it, you know, because I wanted her to know that it's because of who she is as a person. Is because she's a woman you can't buy, and I would never buy anyone because that's fake. That's not even real, you know.
Just
So yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, according to you can't buy me. So yeah, now you know it was a shade. You know, and I always think some people you can spend $1 on and feel that you overpaid, and some you can spend 10,000 and feel like it's not enough. You
mm,
know, and for me at that moment, a person that cares about you, a genuinely good friend, is priceless. You can't really put a tag on there. I'm just glad that Muffin didn't buy something else. Slippers I'm okay with. So I'm like, wait till I get this deal. What is this woman go buy? You know. So she enjoyed it. She liked it, and that was my goal, and I was happy about that. Yeah.
no worries. Let me just slip a bit of information to Lee as well. Listen, look, please, me too. I like to be taken care of, sir. You understand? Yeah, now we're brothers. You know what I mean? You're
Exactly.
brother, so bless him as well. You know, I don't want slippers, but bless him as well. You know, no,
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. I love that, and I think that's, again, that's a beautiful thing. You know, taking care of someone in that particular way as well.
Yeah.
So I love that you were able to do that for her, and it wasn't like you were trying to, like, say, flex or trying to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more of a case of this is me trying to show you that I care, and I'm trying to
Hmm.
take care of you in that instance as well. So
Yeah.
that was beautiful as well. That was
Thank
nice
you.
to hear. So it's sad that we didn't get to see that connection,
Yeah, I
because
know.
that would have been beautiful to be able to see and watch. Instead, we got something else. I don't want to say the person's name because they're
Hmm.
gonna be definitely asking to say that we're talking
Yeah.
about it too much. So, but like obviously, it would have been nice to see you guys and your connection building and be able to see how you
Yes.
two also grew along the process, because it was forcing the whole narrative between her and Quentin
Yeah, that
and
was
kind of
forcing it,
leaving you spare.
and yeah, yeah. They were forcing that so aggressively. Um, that I don't know. I don't know what their thought process was. Maybe they're trying to make that into something instead of allowing things that are organic to be displayed. You know, and sometimes things that are calm, peaceful, fun might not bring the ratings that they might want or the attention. So let's spice it up some. You know, and I get it. You know,
Mm.
now it's so crazy. Like this show is almost like it's like a murder mystery, you know, as you watch things start unraveling and unfolding, you're like, oh, I didn't know this. Oh, this is why this happened. You know, and so that's watching it at the same time you guys are watching it. It's like, wow, a lot of these things that, and it takes us back to when it was happening, and it makes sense now. You know, I was like, oh wow, okay, so yeah.
Let me ask a question. How does she make you feel?
Holly,
How
this
does she make
guy,
you feel?
this
Use all the
guy,
superlatives that
yeah,
Nigerians use. Yes, we want to hear all the
all
superlatives.
the
Yes,
spice, all the
all the
spices.
spice, the sugar bananas and all those. Tell me how this girl makes you
Yes,
feel.
yes.
Mm,
I would say anybody in her presence don't feel good. You know, she's a good person.
mm,
She means well. She speaks well. She's kind. So those are the same feelings I would get that, you know, the next man would, you know, dealing with a woman like that. So yeah, this guy.
mm. You think you're smart? That's not the answer. As to how do you feel? You say you give me generic. Oh yeah, don't do that to me. No, you know I'm your brother now.
Let me
Come on,
tell you,
give me something
when
to
you
work with.
enter this lifestyle, there will be no going back.
No, you are doing snippet. You are doing fast and furious. My
The
friend, give
African
us something. Let
lifestyle,
us hold something. Let us hold something. Give me what you are feeling.
the
When you get,
African.
how does she make you feel? Give me some superlatives. My friend, you are saying generic. Hey, yeah, come on, give me a little something. Hey, give me something.
Oh,
Let me
my
work with
brother.
it. How
You're
does she make?
dangerous.
That's all I'm asking. I don't need to go deep. We're not asking you to say that's your bone or your
Oh
bone.
my goodness, you're dangerous,
We know
man.
that is marriage.
She makes me feel good. I'll
Huh?
say that. She makes me feel very
Uh-huh.
good.
Makes you feel good. Hey, you don't want to use superlatives today. Hey, you are
Oh
saying
wow.
bars for later. Don't worry. Hey, I'll actually, don't worry. Hey, ask her what you've been saying. Don't worry. I'll ask her what you've been saying. I know she's gonna
Good.
tell me you've been saying some
She will
sweet
tell
stuff. So,
she will tell you way more than me. I know she will. She will. So
mm, that's
mhm.
fine. I appreciate my dog. All right, cool. So we got to come into the one that the serious thing
Let's go.
with Jessica. But before we get there, I want to get your experience, because this particular this particular
Mhm.
season, one of
Mhm.
those things that happen again, like some of the other seasons that have been beforehand, has had some main characters who have been very strong in their presence, their
Yes.
personality, and their influence on the show, i.e., Janelle. Okay, all
Mhm.
right. So, and Jessica. Now, I want to get your particular perspective on that situation. Before we go into Jessica, I want to get your how you saw it and what kind of interactions you had. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Like, how did you see it from your perspective?
As
You know what
far
I
as
mean?
which part?
When it came to Jessica and Janelle and their role in this particular season, your interactions with them, how did you experience them? You personally.
Me personally, they're both very smart women. They're very, very smart, very strategic women. I remember it was a moment where I had a conversation with Janelle because I was like, okay, these guys like her. When I had the conversation, she was good. And I was like, oh, okay, I see why they like her because she knows how to talk. It was actually a good conversation. Jessica is a smart woman. She thinks a lot. She's very, very strategic. She knows how she's thinking ahead, the
Yeah.
next couple of steps, with that. And maybe that's because of she has her business or whatnot.
Mm,
Heck, even the show, I would always try to say something about her coffee, kind of give her a plug or whatever. But they had a good relationship. I didn't know they were best friends and business partners until they said it. And so I think they came there with a mission, and I think they accomplished what they was trying to accomplish. Yeah.
mm. Okay.
Yeah.
So then for you, your interaction, let's say start with Janelle. What was that? What was your interactions with her like?
So my interaction with her, now it were two situations where I became the bad guy to her. All right.
Oh, let's
Um,
talk about it.
let's talk about it. So we had our very first conversation was at a brunch, and we talked. And so when I did my confession, um, I was like, yeah, talking to Janelle, it felt like this. So fast forward to the hold down. I'm gonna tell you what it felt like. Fast forward to the hold down. It was me, Janelle, and Red at a tabletop, and she said, "Chris, I don't know why you're talking to me because the last time we talked, you said it felt like Bible study." And I was like, "Yeah, it did. It felt like Sunday school, Bible study, choir practice. What are you talking about?" So she was like, well, why are you saying that? I said, oh, it's how it was communicated to you. What I told them is that we've already talked about our religion. Now let's get to know each other. Let's learn something else because we're both in alignment on the spiritual aspect. Let's get to know something else. And so she was like, oh, so it's how it was delivered. I said, yes, it's how it was presented to you. And I asked her, so how do you feel knowing what I actually said now? She was like, well, I still feel some type of way. And I said, well, that's a personal problem. That's between you and Jesus then. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Red, not knowing he was a comedian, started laughing. And I think in that moment, she might have felt embarrassed, because I said, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's a personal problem between you and Jesus. And she kind of felt slated. And then it was another time on the phone when she's like, hey, maybe we should kind of talk. I said, no, I'm already talking to Jessica, which is your friend. I don't communicate with two friends like that. And she was like, well, we're in this process. Let's just do it. So now you got to think about that's a form of rejection. So, yes. So those two instances, I feel, is what shook it for me and her outside of the gender role thing at the getaway. But other than that, I really didn't have any interaction with her at all. It was just those three instances. Yeah.
No, Chris, let's just go over this because you know what's gonna happen. Right? She's gonna pick it up somewhere somehow. So it's very clear. You know what I mean? Okay, because I will. It's content for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. Money get made. But real spit. What you just said there. I just want to touch on what you just said there. So the first instance was that you guys had is it a personal date or group date?
It was a group date. It was a
group date.
Yeah.
And someone then relayed your comment.
It was either
in a particular way to her.
Yeah, okay. It was either the production or Jessica because the production was there, and then I told Jessica about my pickup, about my interview. So it was out of those two. If I was a betting man, I would say probably Jessica might have said something to her, but it was only those two.
Mm-hmm. So then she heard it as it felt a bit like Bible studies.
Yeah, like it was boring, like she was boring or something like that. But I didn't take it as her being boring. I took it as like we've already checked that box. Now let's get to know each other. It
wasn't boring.
Well, I would say Coach, you
Woo! Boy, you was trying to go around it like Jesus, boy. Like you weren't walking on water, bro. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Man, you something else. Yeah, I mean, it was a conversation, man. It was a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was that. So my bet would probably be Jessica might have said something to her. But those are the only two things. The only 2 or 3 interactions. It wasn't much at all. So, but yeah. That was that.
Okay, so that first instance happened. Then the second instance that happened, obviously, then was now you're saying. I just want to make it clear because I don't want. So you're saying that what? Who called who? Was it you called her?
I don't know who called who on that part. So I can remember. I know we had one good phone conversation. And it might have been within that one where she was like, hey, I want to get to know you. And I'm like, well, no, I'm talking with Jessica. And in real life, I'm not going to talk to 2 friends. And then she reiterated, hey, I kind of talked her into going through this process. We're all in the same process. This is where we're here to get to know each other. And I just stood on where I was at. Because I'm not going to play no games. At this time, I'm already liking Lee, Aries. And I think Kat might have just jumped into the scene or whatever. So I'm not going to add more connections, and you guys, you're looking good with Quentin and Herbert and Red. So what's the point? Let's just cut it off, and keep what we got and try to figure that out of the connection that we already have. Yeah. So I don't know, because that can feel like a form of rejection to a woman,
Yeah, no, that definitely. No, that definitely is. I mean, that can definitely feel like a slight or a thing. So, okay, so it doesn't matter who called who first, but you're saying that the conversation got to a point where it was clear that someone said that, they're looking to start a connection.
Yeah, explore.
Explore connection.
Thing. Yeah, I guess it's the same. No, it wasn't someone. She said that. I didn't say it. So
she said that.
Yeah, it wasn't me because I already was good with where I was at. Yeah. Definitely.
It wasn't you
But
like
that's
Shaggy.
between me and her, so she can easily deny it, which I don't care.
Of
I'm
course,
just
yeah.
now. I'm just telling you my truth. You know what I'm saying? It's not really a big thing. It doesn't matter whether she agrees to it. Now there is one person that can vouch, but I'm gonna let them be the one to
That's
vouch.
fine.
Yeah, we ain't gonna talk about
We'll
that.
take your word on it. We'll take your word on it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And if she decides to come on here and say her piece, she'll say
yeah,
her
that's
piece.
fine.
Okay. So that then didn't work. And you said because obviously you're dating her friend Jessica. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah. I
said,
was talking to
wait,
Jessica at the
you
time.
said you said they were business partners.
Yeah, they've done business. I don't know what type of business, but they've done their business partners and best friend at the time or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, but I don't know what type of business
that's fine.
that
I just
they've
wanted to
done. Yeah.
why you're saying okay, so they're actually business partners. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So okay, so that was your experience. So that was your two kind of experiences with her and then after that there was no real interactions after that for you
No, it
guys?
was no real interactions. Only other time she might have called me like, "Hey, what's going on?" I think it was at the when I met Jessica's friends, and I think that's when Jessica had me on speakerphone with one of the producers to hear me talking or whatever. And then Janelle called me after that, like, "Hey, you're okay?" And I'm like, "You really calling me just to get information? Like, you're not calling me to, whatever." So, yeah.
Wait, there was a call with the producer. Like we don't know nothing
Oh
about
yeah,
this.
it wasn't. Yeah. Why are you calling me? We're not even a connection. Which was ironically why
Wait,
my name will constantly come up in the lounges. Now, me watching it now, and I wasn't your connection. So why keep saying Chris, Chris, Chris? Jessica might can say Chris in the beginning half, but you have no place to bring me up. So
no, Chris, we're not going to skip over that. So there was a
Mhm.
phone call. There was a producer involved. Was this what was this after the table situation or
No,
something?
no,
Or
not the table. It wasn't. This was when I met Jessica's friends, and so Jessica
why
called
should
me, huh?
why she on loudspeaker? Why should she be on loudspeaker then?
You said why did who?
Why did she Jessica have you on loudspeaker?
On loudspeaker to hear some. It was a setup. So it was an act to show me being aggressive on the phone or whatever. It was something. I think she said that on Crystal's interview. Someone sent me a clip. I was like, why y'all sending me this? I don't care. But now it makes sense because I remember her calling me and her leading statements like, you seem upset. You seem like you're mad. So I remember that's why I like watching it. And when you hear people confessions or whatever interviews, you go back in time when that happened, and now it's all the puzzles are kind of making sense. So now I'm remembering the questions and the statements you were saying over the phone because I was on speakerphone, you know, and so it's all making sense now to whatever agenda that might be at that point. But even then, she already knew I wasn't her connection because I wasn't supposed to go meet her friends, and that's why I didn't bring a gift. Because at that time I said I need to be meeting Cat friends. Cat should have met my ex. Like me and her are no longer a connection. And I'm thinking, okay, well maybe they're just trying to do the storyline for her and Maurier, but I did not want to be there with her at all. So but yeah,
Okay,
I know
okay.
you're getting a lot. You're getting a lot of information tonight.
Sorry, hold on. My headphone went out there for a
It's
sec.
acting up.
Yeah, it went out for a sec. So let me get it back in there. Okay, so that situation happened.
Mm-hmm.
That a little bit of a setup. Um, talk to me.
I think you froze up a little bit.
Hold on, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, yeah, froze up. All
That's it.
right.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I was going to say, tell me about where this relationship with Jessica actually went wrong. Where? In fact, no. Before you get to that, baby, let's start properly. You and Jessica, you said you found her attractive at the very beginning. She was stunning. One of the first persons you saw. From there, give us a little bit more of an understanding of how that relationship began to form between you and Jessica.
How it started forming? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what was happening?
We
Yeah.
we had conversations, and I was intrigued about her business because I run my own business. So we had a lot of commonality right there, where we would talk about processes and things like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I in my mind, I'm like, okay, how can I help this woman with her business or whatever, and vice versa. Um, we both. So I think the difference from her and I, Jessica, her upbringing, it was she was middle class on up, so she had a good upbringing. Where for me, I had royal to poverty to building it back up. So I had some ups and downs. I've seen both sides of it. So she can't relate to someone that's on food stamps, but I can, or hardships. So that was the difference there. But we talked about some things. The conversation was okay. It felt more like business conversations versus romantic conversations. So that connection, that romantic connection, really wasn't there. The only time I would say I was like, man, was when I first saw her in an orange dress. I was like, oh, she looking good, she's sexy. Other than that, it just became real, cardboard conversations. It was real dry. It wasn't the humor, because I think I got decent jokes. I'm not the best, but I try to give her some material here and there, and I don't think it worked or whatever. But yeah, it was just dry. It wasn't much substance outside of like the professional conversations, like that.
So how did you guys get to a part where you guys have a connection? Then how did you get to that part?
You say get to a part where we have a connection or didn't have a connection?
Yeah, how did the connection come apart then? Because if you guys are just having professional conversations, it's not really hitting.
It would,
How do
because
we get a
I
connection out
think
of
I
it?
think we both was trying to see if it was gonna hit. That's what I
Okay.
think. I think we was both trying to see, and I think the hold down was good. She showed me a lot of like physical, and that's the ironic part, because I mean she says she's not into PDF, but it was different when it came to me. I know she was very
What
attracted
does
to
that
me.
mean?
You know what I'm saying?
What
Huh?
does that mean, sir?
So, now,
What does that
watching
mean?
it, she was like she's not into PDF, but we was always hugged up and holding hands, or arms, during dates or in the hold down when she paraded me around or whatnot. And so that
Mm.
was interesting to hear that. But that's why I'm saying certain women do certain things with certain men, and vice versa. So it's like that. I
Mm.
feel if I was more into her romantically, I think she would have reciprocated. But I didn't want to lead her on or play them games, with that. And so it was other thing outside of her physical that started being a deterrent in the connection.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm, 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 mm.
yeah.
So this this public display of affection, yeah.
Mhm.
You said obviously that there was a bit more of yourself and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Obviously we had the hold down. You saw how she came and supported you, or at least was
Yeah,
rallying for you.
yeah.
How did you see that particular scene? How did you see? Sorry, that says a scene, but how did you see that particular moment? You know what I
I
mean?
liked.
Where she
I
was helping.
appreciated it. I appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't think nothing bad of it. At that point, I think we still was a connection, still talking. It was a friendship between her and I. So I appreciate that she did that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, oh, why are you doing that? I didn't think nothing negative about it. It was more good. When it came to that, because I didn't know if I was getting eliminated. I had to leave to go get an award from work. So I didn't know if I was gonna make the cut because I'm leaving, and now I'm gonna miss a whole scene, an episode, and the whole down and whatnot. So I appreciated her doing that. It didn't. It was a good thing, I would say.
So there was no like, okay, so beyond obviously the professional, was there no like, you know what I mean? Like there was no. I know you guys were searching for this connection, but was there no like chemistry? Was there no like nothing at all that was going on between the two of you? You said it was PDF.
Mhm.
Was there any kissing that was going on? Was there any?
No,
Was like,
zero kissing. We might have hold hands, locked arms. And the way I would look at Lee Aries, a cat, I didn't look at her like that. And I got to be able to look at my woman like that. You
and
know,
why didn't you look at her like
so
that?
I just wasn't attracted to her like that. I was out like when I first saw her, I was like, oh, she looks attractive. But it's the difference between
Mm.
someone being attractive and you being attracted to that person. You see what I'm saying? So she's not an ugly woman. I mean, I think all the women in our show pretty much have some attraction, measurable attraction, So, but for me, she didn't do that for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, as a man, you want to look at your woman and be like, like that's my woman. I didn't get that feeling or that vibe. Not saying that that she can't provide that for someone else, but for me, that it wasn't my cup of tea or cup of coffee, if you, I don't know. So yeah, look at you. Yeah, so that was.
Yeah, do they? Oh wait.
It was.
That was a good one. Um, so okay, so you're saying that she's attractive, but it, you're saying that in the course of conversations, you're saying that you weren't feeling attracted to her, like it wasn't like she's attractive.
Yes,
You just
and
that
I
you're go on, yeah, go
and
for
I'll say the main reason why I lost attraction was her personality. And when we went on dates, how she was treating the staff or being rude to them, or those moments, that that's a turn off to me. Because if you treat someone else bad, I feel you'll do the same thing for me if we're not in a good space. So that says a lot about someone, how you treat other people. And so you might be googly eyed and say, "Oh, Chris is a nice guy. He's handsome. I like him. I want to date him." But if you're being rude to other individuals, then that's a turn off for me. It doesn't matter how aesthetically you look, that's an ugly aspect of you. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's what people that comes off appear attractive sometimes get lazy, and they might not be good people, but you can find someone that's not quote unquote society attractive, and their personality just make them irresistible. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? So, and that's for men and women.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Someone might say that, give us example because you're saying you're kind of being vague about maybe saying, she has some moments where you saw that some behavior that you weren't really liking. They might
Yeah,
say,
I would say if the food wasn't what she wanted, it was an issue.
mm,
Makeup artist was an issue when we're getting dressed, getting ready for what we were going. On the phone, it's always an issue with work or something like that. It's like, have you had that friend when you call them, it's always something negative, you know,
yeah,
and that drains you in a sense, right? So it was a lot of that before. I was like, hey, well, what's good happened today? Like what else positive has happened? What made you happy today? I found myself keep having to say that to start the conversation to change the energy. And when you got to do that, that's not a space that you want to be in.
mm,
And so that was where I said a lot of the moments, and her and I even wordplay was an issue. She wanted things to be a certain type of way. She wanted me to say things a certain type of way because words are very, very important to her. So that was a huge turnoff when you gotta watch everything you say and do around someone, you don't feel comfortable. You know,
what do you mean? I know what you mean,
yeah.
but what do you mean, like in
Like
terms of
like if I gotta watch how I say something, what I say, if I say that this person might get irritated, or so it's like, nah, I don't want to deal with that at all. Like it's not enticing. It's not something I want to be a part of. Yeah.
mm, okay. I
Hmm.
mean, I totally get that. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense. So then, obviously, that relationship is coming. You guys, at what point did you say, or what point did she? Well, whoever said it. At what point did you guys say? In fact, no. What happened with the improvisation scene? At that point, where were you guys in your relationship? That's your
Um,
relationship, in your
it
connection.
was it was still going downhill because I want to say the X date was before that. Now the improv scene, she was supposed to be a angry bitter wife,
Okay,
so they made it look like,
you didn't like
oh,
it.
huh?
You didn't like that, did you? Though you like
But
how
but it's
she
okay
could be like,
because that was her scene. So I can't
mm,
say she was being combative in that moment because that's what they wanted her to be. So I didn't like the production making her look like that, but she had
mm,
other real combative moments. That was something that was scripted for the
okay,
improv date. So she was supposed to be an angry wife because we got into an accident with that. So but I think when she was coming there, she had that, because Jessica would have this look on her face like something smells funny all the time. And so it's always like a look of disgust, you
oh,
know.
the RBF, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, resting, whatever. So
Mm,
is that where you might see other women are chipper, Kara, Lee, Aries, Kat, like they have a
the warmth,
welcoming look. Yeah.
yeah.
So that part right there is like, okay, it's just uncomfortable, you know. Yeah, it just really is. So that scene was something that was scripted for that right there. Mhm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
and so you said that she had combative moments or
Yes.
combative situations were happening.
Yes. Hmm.
Now, make it clear for us what you mean when you say combative.
Combative.
What do you
Baba,
mean when you say,
combative. Guys
yeah,
like me, I don't want wahala. No wahala for me.
you don't want wahala? You have to then break it down for us. What do you mean combative situations?
So
Hmm?
outside of the moments I described, even when we when it came to my lunch date at my office, one of my construction sites, I think it was one of the wordplay I used. I think I said you're a strong black woman, and she made production stop. Don't say that word. Production, like, he can say what he want to say, and I'm like, no, you're not gonna tell me how I'm gonna talk. Like, okay, well, you're a very strong black woman, but to her, I guess that was a negative word. To me, it doesn't seem that. It's a positive word to me. So I think with that, this whole combative and all this other stuff, it made me understand I got to find out how does someone view certain words, because I feel like if I say combative, I'm not calling you a B or H or all these other things. I'm just saying this and I'm describing these moments, right? And and that was something. And even in that moment, like I was later on when she had confessed, she said I kind of liked it when Chris kind of stood up for herself or whatever she said. But I don't want to have to talk to my woman like that to get her aroused, get her aroused. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
I'm not. That's just
She did
not
say
what.
that. Yeah, I watched the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, so I need, that's why I say I want that softness. Like, yeah, you can be a boss and do all that other stuff, but when we come home, leave all that out there. I'm already facing the world as a black man in America. You don't know if you're gonna come home if you get pulled over by the police. So when I come home, I want to be at peace. That's my sanctuary. And when you come home, I want you to be at peace. You could have been having a long day at work. Now we're in our bubble. And I don't know why that was so hard for people to understand what I was trying to say. I don't want her to talk like a little mouse or anything like that. I just want her to be softer towards me because and then people will say, okay, well, you got to be a man to bring it out of someone. Maybe some people that just don't have that side, you know or maybe I'm not the right fit for her for that to come out. I don't know. Either way it go, we're just not a fit for each other, and I don't have the luxury of time to pull that out of this person because I don't see it, but other people, I see it automatically, you know and I'm not going to waste my time with that. So that's where I was talking about.
Why couldn't you? Okay, in that moment, like for instance, the lunch date. Why couldn't you take what she said? This is not even me saying you have to. I'm just saying
Yeah,
I want to get your understanding. Why couldn't you just be like, okay, great. You know what? Help me understand why I shouldn't call you a strong black woman. Why did you take
yeah,
the route of I'm gonna call you a strong black woman? Because that's basically what you just said. Is that I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. You gonna have to take it.
yeah.
You gonna take it. So
Absolutely, because I thought about in because during this process, I'm seeing how she's handling other people. Because at this point, we're not even a connection anymore. So this is how you're talking to people. Let me let you know what that feel like and what that seemed like. At this point, because I've already made up my mind that I'm not gonna date you. At this point, I'm going through the process when it comes to you right now. But my main focus is these other women. And hence where she's like, well, Chris is inconsistent. He's not talking or whatever. But you're here, Lee and Aries say, I talk to him every single day because I have a choice. I can have a very pleasurable conversation where we laugh and encourage each other, or I can have this conversation where it's gloomy. I'm gonna choose the happy the raindrops and bubble gums. I'm gonna choose that conversation. So why would I call someone where I instantly gotta shift your energy before we even start talking? I'm not
mm,
doing that you know. So that's why it was like, well, I'm not gonna stay here and like try to figure out all this stuff with this woman because I already checked out. Is no is it wouldn't have been an escalation if there's no continuation. In real
mm.
life, I'm just gonna cut it off and stop. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna keep it moving. And producers, please don't put me on another date with her. You know,
Mm.
and I'm hoping we can just be cool and keep it at that. So that was my mindset after that. Mm-hmm.
So you obviously then get to that point, but you had obviously there's a scene where you actually spoke to her about talk to me in a particular way. What
Mhm.
was that was that the only time you guys had that kind of conversation? Or do you guys have other conversations around how she speaks and how you want to be spoken to?
We've talked on the phone. We've talked on the phone about it. That was just a moment where you guys see it on tape. Because I always try to tell people, okay, well, this is what I like. I'll give generality of what I think and what I like. Even when I was trying to say, well, the type of wife I like was someone like this, but I give you descriptions of what I'm seeking. And then you ask yourself, do I line up with that? You see what I'm saying? Because I don't want to say you have to be this way. I'm going to tell you what I like, because I don't want you to act the way because I'm telling you to act the way. I want that to be a natural thing for you. And if as friends, we can talk about it. This is why I want you to talk this way. This is why I'm going to talk this way towards you. And if you want me to change it, I will. Give me your whys behind everything that you do and everything you want me to do. Make it make sense. So that was the situation with that.
Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And so then, and one question before I lead on: and I wonder if you just wanted to explain this? Does her, because you call her a strong black woman,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Does her being a strong black woman trigger Chris? So when I say trigger, I'm not talking about you're weak or anything like that. What I
Yeah.
mean in the sense of her being so, I guess you're gonna have to kind of define strong, what you actually really mean by
Perfect.
strong, so we get an understanding. If you can just give us that
Good
perspective, we understand
question.
what you mean by
So for
strong.
for me, I like a strong black woman. I do. I feel my mother was a strong black woman. My sisters, Lee, Aries, and Kat, a strong black woman. I didn't know it was a negative terminology. In my mind, I look at a woman that works hard and whatever it is she decides to work hard in. A woman that takes pride in herself. A woman that takes up for herself. A woman, a queen, and if you look at it, queens are not weak. If you think about it, if you look at the medieval, anytime you've seen a queen, look at even Black Panther, his mother, auntie or whatever. Like those women are strong. So it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a negative thing. It sucks that this society make these terminologies negative, But if that's something that's negative to you, I won't say it. You see what I'm saying? Because I can give you my definition, and you can agree with it or disagree. If you disagree with it, okay, well, I'll refrain from calling you that. The only reason I said it is because I felt this way about that word. I didn't know combative was a trigger for her. Maria knew it was before I even started talking about it. So if I knew that, I would have never even used that word from the jump. I'm describing situations, and I'm describing my personal experience with her, and with whoever. So that's all I can go off is what I'm experiencing. So strong black woman is not negative to me, but if it's someone I care about and they take it as perceived as negative, then I wouldn't use that word, that terminology towards them. I'll say something else.
So obviously, then in the interaction between you and Jessica, you did use it again.
Use what? Strong.
Strong black woman.
Yes, I absolutely did because that was at the point where when like I told you prior, the way I've seen her handle other people, and then I'm not even connected with her at that point, and the way she shuts me, she silenced me in that moment, and I felt very disrespected just in that moment. So I'm like, well, no, you're not. I'm not no beta dude. I'm not gonna just sit here and let you handle me no kind of way, But when I replied back, that actually made her feel good. And so I was like, oh, so this is this type of woman. She she like a little friction, and I'm not gonna have. I don't like friction with my woman. Like I'm good on that. You know, and so yeah, so it is all about the delivery. Um, with that, like it's like when someone gives you, it's a mirror type thing, right? Sometimes when someone
Mhm.
gives you this energy, you tend to mirror that energy in a sense, or you remove yourself from that situation. In this situation, we're stuck there. We just got here recording or whatnot. So that's where that whole strong black woman, that whole episode or that scene, that's really what was going on.
Okay. No, I definitely hear you. I think I'm trying to understand though, because obviously you just explained that if someone doesn't
Mhm.
like the word and you care about them, you wouldn't use it. So
Yeah.
I've got to come to a conclusion that in that moment you didn't care about her,
Yeah.
so you
In that
didn't care what
moment.
you said.
Yeah. In that moment, I did not care. In that moment, I was like, I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. You know, because her and I've had some phone conversations, and it's all about respecting, even as a human, as a friend, not even as a dating or me being your man, but let's just show each other more respect. You know, because what happens is people are gonna start giving you what you're dishing out, and then you're gonna be like, man, why is this person doing that? You know, so because you're not being self-aware of how you're presenting yourself to that person, you know, and I'm just not that guy, and you're not that guy, Kojo, was just gonna constantly feel disrespected, you know,
Mm.
and you're gonna communicate it, and someone continues on, then it's like, well, I guess you really don't care, you know. So this is where we're at now. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So in a sense, you didn't care. That's the
I
sort of the
mean,
truth. And
because if that makes you happy,
you,
then we can go with that.
no, but Chris, you said it. I'll go by what you said. I'm saying if we keep it a buck and we keep it
Let's
real,
keep it a buck. At that moment, I didn't care.
in that
I didn't
moment,
care.
you did not care.
I
So
did
when
not
you
care
said
then.
strong black woman, yes, I believe you that you say that it is a positive word. Where I'm struggling to believe
Mhm.
all the way is when you tell me that you didn't know it had some negative connotations behind it because you've
No,
lived in
I
America for how
didn't.
long?
Even to this day, it's not a negative connotation to me. But if it's negative to someone that you know that I care about, let's put it like that.
Mm.
You know, I'm not gonna use that word. Like if I ever see her, I'm not gonna call her a strong black woman. I'm not gonna call her combative. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm just gonna let it be. You see, so at that moment I didn't care because it almost felt like I was like someone was trying to little boy me or something.
Mm.
You know,
So you was that's what no, that's where we have to come to the real stuff.
that's what it felt like. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what it
And
felt like in that moment.
and see now we're real because now at this point, when you say it the second time, we know that that
Mm-hmm.
second time isn't you saying it in a positive manner. In the second
Yeah.
time, when you're saying
Well,
it, you now know she don't like the
oh yeah,
word.
I didn't care at the time
Let's
because
be
I felt like
honest.
you little boy me. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So you've given her
Yeah.
two shots.
Tenfold. Fair enough.
Okay, so in that so this so now I can see now we can see where both of you are losing respect for each other because if at a
Yeah.
point, as much as I you know I can see your point in terms of how she's treating you, and
Mm-hmm.
I know as an African we do not play with those things. So I'm
We
with
don't
you,
play with
but
yes, exactly.
at the same time, I'm also seeing that at the other end, which is
Yeah.
that when you felt like you were being disrespected and she was trying to make you feel small, and if we go even back through your history in terms of what you've explained,
Mm-hmm.
how when you've grown up, you know what I mean, you've had to go through some challenges,
Mm-hmm.
how people have tried to
Yeah.
make you feel small because you're coming from another country, you may not understand the language the same way. This is a trigger point. So the
Mm-hmm.
real aspect is that there is parts of what she's doing which is triggering you. And
Yeah.
so now when you're
I like the
triggered, you're
way you
saying
think.
some stuff
Yes.
that, you know,
Yeah.
that is not going to help the relationship either. So in
Mm-hmm.
reality, there's parts on both sides which are really on both
Absolutely.
sides here. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
I agree with you, Koza. I agree with
Mm.
you.
Okay, so tell me how we get to the part where you the where okay, you said you didn't want to be in the space with Jessica. You did tell production that we know that already.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get to a point where it blows up? How do we get to that point? Because the editing, it don't make sense. I'll be
The
honest with you.
editing is horrible.
Yeah.
Editing was very horrible. So let's talk about this. So going there, I remember communicating with production like, hey, after the retreat, I only want to be around Aries, Cat, or Lee. Those are the only individuals I want to be around, period. You know, and it's like, and if you want to backtrack, let's talk about the retreat when they were saying who called her combative, and all the guys were saying no, including myself, right? Do you remember that? When they was talking about it was we were sitting by the fireplace and Janelle was saying, so who used the word combative?
Yes, sorry,
Yes.
sorry, yeah,
So let's talk about that because that's gonna segue into the other part, right?
yeah.
So in that moment, we had a gentleman's discussion, um, and come to find out, everything that we said in the lounge did not stay in the lounge. It's not a safe place as they perceive it to be. Morier was the handler of that, so he would communicate with Jessica things that were going on in the lounge, you know. And he was gonna deliberate who's to go home because him and Sierra and Jessica was just both his connections, right? And it's so ironic how production or editing set things up, because whenever they bring that up, they showed me or they showed this different thing, and you got to listen to the music, so they find ways to villainize someone and they find ways to soften it up based on the music to play with our emotions as we watch the show. People don't realize that it triggers them to feel some type of way about whatever's on that picture, either way, good or bad. And so the fact that it was line up all the guys like it's a firing squad. Who said this? Who said that? Who said this? And before I told you, I went to that retreat to have a good time with the people I care about, and I wasn't going to talk to those two individuals. So at that moment, if we have that conversation, they already pumped up and full of blood and ready to go to war. So why would I go in there? And if the guys aren't saying anything, I was the one that probably had more combative situations than her. But at that moment, I didn't call her combative. I called her, I described just the situations. I called her combative during the blow up, and I also called her combative at a pickup interview right before the reunion, but they played it in real, like it was current time. So they played me on that. I didn't say it at that point. That's why the women were so adamant. Chris did not say combative. He told me he didn't say that. Theo even communicated to Aries that it wasn't me. That was a cyber. So ask Aries that whenever you talk to her, because she's not gonna lie about it at all. And even if you will see where Q was saying, hey, this was a collective decision, and then they said just one word, and Mario like, I shouldn't have used that word. You didn't, you use that word because that's a trigger for her, which I did not know. You see what I'm saying? Right. So now it's like, I'm already not her connection. You don't have to plot against me, because I'm done. I'm washed. My hands is washed of her. So you can have her all by yourself. So leading into when I got eliminated, I've already communicated production. I just want to be with these ladies, give or take whatever happens. Once I realized it was her, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this situation. I've already got the numbers of the women that I'm interested in. So at this point, this show I'm done with it. The blow up happened before she said I wasn't ready to love. They reversed it, because they're like, you still got to go see what Tommy. I said, I don't care what Tommy has to say at this point. No one is respecting my wishes. You see what I'm saying? And I know I had a whole monologue of when I was talking to her before it even blew up. They cut a lot of it out. I talked about my family, my father. I talked about even how he passed. I talked about all those different things, and I talked about how respect is important, and I'm gonna respect you. Even in that moment, I don't know if you caught it when she was like, why we didn't work out. At that, you still trying to figure out why we didn't work out. I said, hey, let's just cut. You're not my person. I'm not yours. Let's just agree to that and not talk about each other behind our backs and stuff like that. So it was jumbled up in so many different aspects, and that's where it went to that blow up. And she has this microaggression about herself that a lot of you guys don't catch. The good news is you got to see some of it at the reunion, where she couldn't hold back some of it, and it was a buildup. And you always got to think about, there's no like, without no continuation is not gonna be a situation, what I'm saying? That would have dissipated, because all you have to do is ghost them. I'm good, and that's that. So that's the part where I in real life, that doesn't happen. I don't even remember ever going off on a woman like that, because it doesn't linger that long, but when you're in this controlled environment where you're forced to be there, it's like I got in the pressure cooker and I let it get the best of me. I can admit that. And I apologized to her then, apologized to her at the reunion. Multiple times they didn't even show that. But it was a huge buildup because I just got fed up with the situation. And I think it was something to say, oh, he flipped the table. That didn't happen at all, or whatever the case may be. I just walked out.
Didn't flip the table.
Didn't do it. Didn't flip a table. Didn't do whatever, like I was lashing at her. Like, no, it was even at that moment I said, Jessica, given all this stuff that happened, if someone comes in here, I still got to protect you. That's my duty, even though we're at odds, so that's the thing with production and editing, that they just mixed it all up. And And it's one of those things where I decided today, here we are. I've already long time decided to forgive her and myself for that situation. As soon as I left, I called my daughter. That's the first person I was thinking about, and I told her what happened. Because as a man that has a black daughter, I don't want nobody else talking to my daughter like that. I don't want nobody talking to my sister like that. And granted, um, I said what I said. I'm not gonna apologize for how she made me feel and how I felt in that moment, but I do apologize for my word selections. Dropping the F-bomb on her. And even with that, it's still the women still were calling women B's and H's and all the other stuff too, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about combative and me saying F you and F everything about you. That's the thing that's like, all right, well, we pick and choose what we want. Both are not right. I'm not trying to justify my actions because it's almost no justification to talk to a woman in that manner. It's just that I wouldn't be in that situation in real life. On this reality TV stuff, I'm there. It's contractual. I got to sit there. And how many times you gonna poke the bear, like you said about the lion situation? So that was the whole build up of that scene right there.
So let's ask, semantics wise, he might not have flipped the table, but was a chair moved in an aggressive way? Was anything
No,
furniture rearranged?
not at all. I got up and walked out. It was nothing, no aggressive gestures were made to her other than me saying what I said and the look on my face because I felt hurt. You know what I'm saying? I was hurt and I was angry. I was frustrated. I would say I was frustrated more than I was anything else. And like you say, with those triggers, there was a lot of disrespectful triggers that was going off, and sparks were going off. I just don't want to be here. And I was telling production, I don't want to be here, you know. And so they're like, let me listen to what Tommy got to say so I can get out of here. And I'm good.
Mm.
And I'm like, why would you bring that woman be the one? If that's my date, why would you bring her and you knowing what's going on? But it's all about ratings, it's all about the integrity of the show, but not worrying about us as castmates. All of my castmates, I feel we all need to talk to someone about the show. You see what I'm saying? But these shows want their ratings, but they're not understanding how it affects. Imagine if it's someone that doesn't have the mental capacity if I have once it's done. You see what I'm saying? How that's gonna mess with them, and you're putting people in these and you're depicting these things, because everyone was thinking, oh, I'm an aggressive, angry, sassy African dude, this and that. And all I do is just smile because that's not who I am, But I will say everything in the show does reflect a portion of us. You see what I'm saying? So it's all not false. I totally agree with that, but the manner in which that they're emphasizing in some of these things is not accurate, but there are a portion of us. I am passionate, I am emotional, whatever you want to say it. I'm soft when it comes to women. I'm aggressive when it comes to guys. I'm all these things. Like we're humans, we're not just one way. We're a multitude of ways. It depends on the situation, And to this day, like, I mean, I've apologized to her. I mean, it's like it's enough. I mean, how many times do I gotta apologize, for that? And I will say this: there's not one person. If someone highlighted your worst moment on national television, that's my worst moment. So imagine someone else's worst moment being highlighted. How would they feel about that? And that's my thing. Like, I don't have any skeletons in my closet. If it's anything that anyone that wants to say about me, show the receipts, show anything, because I don't have that. I don't live in fear, and I don't live in any of those feelings that most people live in of guilt. That was probably my worst moment in many, 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 many years. And if that's okay. That moment begot this moment here where we're talking and everyone that's watching, thousands of viewers, are seeing the way I think about life and my process. That's a blessing. So in turn, I'm actually happy that everything transpired how it transpired. Like, I don't live my life in regret. Yes, I would change some things, but I don't dwell in regret. That's not going to help me move forward positively.
No, I hear that. And you can only apologize so much. I'm not asking you to apologize again. I know you've apologized on the reunion and stuff like that. So I'm not asking you to necessarily apologize again. Um, I think obviously just to that situation, it's a tough one,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, and I say tough one because obviously, yeah, she's triggering you.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to a point where you cuss her out, but I'm wondering, you looked visibly almost in tears at the end, bro.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. Like I said, it was so much frustration, So what you saw on my face was like a look of frustration, and I was just fed up and did not want to be there. You know, it ain't. I mean, she was. It was nothing that I could do that would make her feel she was in danger or anything like that. You know, that is not how I was raised. That's not how I'm brought up. That's just not in me, especially when it comes to a woman. Period. But yeah, I was hurt. I was frustrated. Just based on the whole situation. Yeah, definitely.
I hear that. I hear that. It'd be like that. It'd be like, have you and Jessica had any contact since then, apart from obviously apology?
No, we haven't. We haven't. With her, like I said, I told you I forgive myself and I forgive her. I don't have no issue with her. If Jessica want to talk to me, I'll talk to her. It's just that probably wouldn't communicate with Janelle. That's just but Jessica, just given whatever makes her that help her sleep at night. If that would make like I sleep great, I'm gonna sleep really good after this. But if that's a chapter that she wanted to talk about, I would to help her out in her process or whatever. But I don't have no issues with her at all. Mm-mm.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Listen, like I said, you've taken accountability for the situation already. You have apologized. So I'm not trying to drag that particular moment out.
Okay.
I would say that I would say that I know that you say you might not be in that situation ever,
Mm-hmm.
but just by going on what you said, like in the
Mm-hmm.
past and stuff, like, and also because I can tell you for free, this audience has seen me through everything, right?
Yeah.
uh, that I can be a little bit combative too. I can be a little bit triggered too,
Yeah.
and it sometimes it comes from a good place, and sometimes it's just I'm triggered, right? And the
Yeah.
triggered is because sometimes people are not understanding the
Mm-hmm.
situation. Sometimes I feel like what, y'all are not getting it, and that can be frustrating. Also, when you feel like someone's disrespecting you too, that can
Mm-hmm.
take you over the edge. And this audience, anybody who's been
Yeah.
with me for a long time knows I've done apology videos. I've come off. I've said to people, I'm sorry because there's been arguments where I've gone a little bit over the top with the argument, or I've said too much,
Mm-hmm.
as well. Where I've done too much in certain instances. And one thing I've realized is that one thing I've realized in that instance is that I'm an emotional being just like you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I had to start learning, and I'm still doing it. I had to start learning how to what we call regulate. And the hardest thing about regulating
Yeah.
emotions is that I didn't realize I had emotions like that. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like when things are like Jessica are coming up, the reason why those situations the reason why it came up is
Mm-hmm.
because the reason why it came up is because again, if you this is going back to my very thing about why I said maybe tap in a little bit, maybe someone else can talk to you about this behind the scenes, but
Mm-hmm.
tap in because anger is an expression of frustration of not meeting a goal. So when a
Mm-hmm.
goal is not being met, and when the person feels like they're under attack, anger comes out as
Yeah.
response, as a defense mechanism to warn everybody, don't try me on this aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when that moment happens and you and Jessica, she gets you to that point, and we can see that you're visibly frustrated at that point, the question that first came to mind, so I was like, what what need has been unmet that in that moment the person's been able to pull something out of you?
Yeah.
Because what it really is the expression of being able to express yourself freely without it being unregulated. It's like, so I was looking and I was like, yeah, man, can't lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're sensitive. I'm a
Yeah.
sensitive
And,
person, so
and and that's
this is
fine.
me cussing you.
Yeah.
You're sensitive, and I'm sensitive, and the
Yeah.
trouble with sensitivity is people can easily prod you,
Mm-hmm.
and as men, we and you know this yourself because you're looking after your sisters and everything, so you know that as a man, because of the power that we have in terms of our physicality,
Yeah.
any level of prodding, if we're triggered and we go off, everybody loses. So
Absolutely.
that's a
Absolutely.
double standard. This is the double standard of what it is between men and women.
Absolutely.
And not that women can't hurt people, but that's a double standard. So even you just even standing up, someone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, he's stand up," and da, 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 do you know what I mean? And so in that aspect, what I'm saying to you is that for me, I know where mine is coming from, right? So when I was getting triggered by my YouTube audience and stuff like that, I know where mine's coming from. I don't like disrespect, but at the same time, I don't like being not heard because that's how I felt as a kid. I wasn't heard. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize until I started connecting the dots that whilst I'm on YouTube, if I'm explaining something and people are laughing, joking when it's serious, or they're saying stuff that is derailing the conversation,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I'm starting to get triggered. The
Yeah.
graph is starting to go, and I'm starting to
That
go.
makes
And then
sense.
before I realize it, I'm at the end, and I'm
Yeah.
saying something like, you know what, da 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 da. And so I'm
So
saying that I think,
with you, do you feel like
yeah,
you was unheard as a child? Is that what it is? Where you pull that from?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's not that I couldn't speak, but there was no safe space provided for me to speak.
Okay. So
You know what
what
I'm
have
saying
you
to you?
done? What have you done to work on that to fix to work with that?
For me personally, do you know what? It's been interesting. I've been using my audience as a way of improving my being heard, because part of YouTube, I get to do videos whenever I want. I'm being
Yeah, that's
heard, right?
true. That's true.
But I had to start being present. It's something I've been telling people, like, I started being present with my emotions.
Okay.
So I started honoring my emotions. It's
Mhm.
okay to feel in that moment. And it goes back to a Bible scripture. I can be angry, but I can't sin. What
Yeah.
that means is I can stand in my anger and say, I'm feeling frustrated right now. And I can
Yeah.
say it to myself, I'm frustrated right now. I'm angry right now.
You
Okay, I'm present with it
yes.
now.
You know
And
one
now I
thing
can,
that I am grateful for when you say that I'm sensitive, you sensitive or emotional, whatever the case may be. I'm grateful for the fact that we can communicate those things. Because imagine a man that's powerful and that's holding it all in, right? Let's imagine how dangerous that is. So for us to be sensitive and communicate, that's a blessing. That's a gift. So I don't look at it as a weakness of someone saying you're sensitive or emotional. Like, I appreciate that, because if I wasn't, the other side, that's gonna be bad for everybody. You see what I'm saying? So I that's a good feeling. You know what I'm saying? To know that I have enough power to communicate how I feel, because as men, we really don't have that outlet a lot of times because we gotta stay strong, we gotta stay do all this other stuff, gotta bottle it in. There's no safe space to talk about it. So for me, I can talk about it and be okay with it. And if someone called me sensitive or whatever the case may be, I'm okay, because that means you lack understanding of who I am and why I am sensitive or whatever, or why I am communicating how I feel. So then at that point, you're a person of not being relevant to me. So I'm glad that you admit that you're sensitive, and you have a platform where you can talk. So that is your therapy. So I mean, that's a good thing. I think so.
absolutely. Did you feel like you were heard as a young child?
Actually, yeah. I
Okay.
was spoiled. I was spoiled. Yeah, I was super spoiled. I mean, like I said, I always been passionate, and then my passion turned into sensitivity. I guess, I don't know. So whatever it is I want to do, I want to be the best at it. And it's like, if you ain't first, you last. So that's just what it is. And I got a lot of love, and maybe that love is where I got my sensitivity from. You know what I'm saying? Because one of my brothers, he ain't sensitive at all. He got the deep voice and everything, and I'm different from that. So I think mine came from the amount of love that I got growing up, and being naive to hardships or when things wasn't going good. Like and I do have this thing in my mind where I delete negative things. Like if it's something, I might forget how someone wronged me, and then my brother's like, "Why are you still helping this person?" Because I delete it like a
That's how I
computer.
felt.
You see what I'm saying? You're probably like that as
Yeah.
well too. So when someone asks me something, I'm like, I don't even remember, but I sometimes can remember how I felt.
Yeah.
So I would like, oh, okay, well, this person made me feel like this. Okay, let me stay away from that person. Or I don't even know what happened, so I'm still talking to this person. So I mean, you're right. It's a lot of things from my childhood that defines us now as men, and for us, we have an obligation to communicate these things to help somebody else, or the children or kids around us too. So I mean, I'm excited. I'm glad I was on Ready to Love. Now I'm ready to love and live all together. So yeah, I feel good
Mm.
about it.
Nah, I definitely hear that, and I no, I appreciate the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good to hear hear your perspective and get your in depth focus point as well. And I think it's interesting to kind of see your point of view and get the different perspective on what happened on the show for you as well. So,
Hmm.
I appreciate you being honest and sharing
Thank you.
those aspects as well. What would you say where you are now? What would you say is your most proudest moments? I'm not even talking about Ready to Love, but for you, what is your most proudest moments? You're at where you at right now. What do you
Um,
consider your achievements?
my most proudest moment is to help with zeroing the debt of my father, my godfather. Getting him a vehicle, house, being able to just be a tool for my friends, my family. So I think that's my biggest moment. Um, that's really it. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's because of them, I gotta keep moving. You know what I'm saying? So and I gotta set things in order. So that's probably my biggest moment. Really my family, my friends. That's it. That's what I'm most proud of, the crew, the selection that I have. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. What did you learn from the show? Ready to Love. What did you learn?
Oh
What did you
man,
learn?
I learned about how to be combative. I learned nah nah, seriously, but I learned more of intentionality. I learned how to ask the right questions. I feel I'm really great at dating now and asking those questions to get to get to where we're going. I feel because I feel everyone needs to experience this process. Because we have to ask stuff that you typically would ask someone months and years later. We have to ask in a couple of days. So it speeds up that process, and you're not wasting time. So I think it is, and then the people you're dating, you're seeing them date other people because people do that in real life, but now you're actually seeing it. Like, dang, why Kojo next to Lee like that? Like what's going on there? So I think I learned how to ask the right questions, how to find out if we're compatible or not. And it even works with my friendships too. Like, hey, I'm asking them good questions. My daughter, I'm asking her really good questions. And the whys behind it. So I think the show really takes you to another level. I think all of my alumni people probably expert daters now. Yeah.
Any businesses, any like organizations, anything that you're doing right now you want us to get behind and support?
Yeah, so a couple of us are gonna do some charity stuff in here in Dallas. I'm gonna be doing some development in Abuja, for the people there, going back home to Africa to do some things like that. I am gonna start teaching financial literacy, talk to people about that, how did my ups and downs, and how did I get to where I'm at right now? Because everything can be duplicated. I think is we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and really just financial literacy is my passion, especially for our community because we don't understand. I kind of want to bring the African unity that we have to the Black Americans here. How if we collectively how we can succeed, and create your own mini environment, mini ecosystem, financial ecosystems to where you can buy back your time. Because I think we're set up here to go to school and to work for someone. You're not
Mm.
taught how to maximize your life. I went to college, I got 2 degrees, but I learned so much more outside of that, and I do everything outside of my degrees. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to the things I'm going to do with that in education and that aspect. Mm-hmm.
I love it, man. I love it. A
Thank you, man.
successful brother at that. Listen, Chris, it's been amazing. Now I know I took you a little
Likewise.
bit over the time. I do apologize, but it's been a great conversation, and I appreciate you being a good sport, sharing your truth and your vulnerabilities with us as well, and your experience on Ready to Love. Audience, thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys had a heavy one in the chat. I saw a lot of comments. Some good, some bad.
You know how I
Um,
feel about
be
it.
like that. It'd be like that, you know what I'm saying? So, but I appreciate everyone being respectful in the chat as well. Thank you to the moderators who have been moderating as well. We want to let you guys know we'll be back here tomorrow night. So I'm gonna have Cat.
Go.
So Cat, no,
Cat.
tomorrow, Quentin and
And
Cat.
you didn't even ask me about Cat. That's my baby
I
right
didn't,
there.
I felt even bad. I didn't even. Cat's definitely gonna kill me because
Yeah, she gonna kill you.
I'm already, she's already gonna drown me in Jamaica. So
That's
this
my
bad.
boo right there. Yeah. So,
I'm already been in trouble with that. You know what I mean? They what? Maybe another time. I don't know.
yeah, we'll
But
talk about it.
I'll ask Kat about you. So that's what I'm going to
Perfect.
do. I'm asking Kat about you. You said ask the ladies anyway. So you ain't going to give us
Yes.
anything else.
Shout out to my sister
So we.
wives.
I thought you say sister wives. Listen, audience, it's been amazing. It's been great. We appreciate y'all, and listen, we enjoyed. So don't do anything I wouldn't do. And make sure you guys stay locked and stay loaded and subscribe to the channel as well. Much love.